Oh, yo, what a week this been. You see, I'm still in like NABJ mode.
Oh, is that? I thought you were doing IRS.
No, it's been NABJ week, so I've been in and out of sessions all week, plus doing a regular job, and still had to do the wrestling realm. Let's get this show started.
Houston, we have a problem.
Yes! What you gonna do? 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 What you gonna do?
Oh yeah. Let's get it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the...
Don't even mean to cut your intro. You just wooed, right? How about? I know you saw the picture. Everybody tried this. That viral picture. Everybody thought it was Ric Flair on that train doing unmentionable things. Sorry, I just.
I mean, what's so funny is because it wouldn't have surprised us. It's Ric Flair.
I had to think about it though. I had to think about it. Then I was like, no, Ric Flair doesn't ride trains.
Boost 13, 14.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sitting back, I'm like, what's that noise? Oh, okay. Yeah, but that's the thing, right? You're sitting back and like, wait a minute, like that wouldn't be surprised if that was Ric Flair. You know?
That was it was a very Ric Flair thing to do. So that's why I was like, wouldn't surprise me if that was old Nate, but it is what it is. But like I said, I'm glad he clarified it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, hello everybody. Welcome to this episode, a special SummerSlam preview edition of the Wrestling Realm Now podcast. We've been busy this week, and we just dropped a new show. Make sure y'all check that out. 5 reasons why Bret the Hitman Hart is Mr. SummerSlam. And shout out to those in the comments section on YouTube. Their names escape me at the moment, but they tend to agree. They agree with a lot of things that we said, even on Instagram. So make sure y'all check that out. But let's get ready. SummerSlam. But before we get into that, I want to talk about something with the real Dwayne Allen because Roman Reigns.
Anytime you talk to me about anything, it's never a good thing.
Roman Reigns was just doing he was speaking with Ariel Helwani, and they were talking. I'm gonna just go ahead and play the clip because we can do that now. I'm gonna just play the small part of the 2-minute interview or however long it was. Y'all can find it, but this is the part that's got everybody talking.
Like The Rock, from bitter people, who possibly thought they were better than they really were. When it comes down to it, CM Punk was not as good or as over as a John Cena. Wasn't as good or as over and moved the needle like The Rock. It was just what it was. From a full-time performer, I understand the frustration and wanting more. But like I said, from bitter people.
Right. Realness.
Yes, sir.
CM Punk's reign. We think about 2011, 2012. The summer of Punk. Shout out to Trey from We Love Wrestling said, I'm not calling this the summer of Punk in August when we halfway out of the summer. As far as 2021, that coming after Punk had put like the year, like I believe it's the first year he won the world championship, the year of the pipe bomb, and then he put 2021. He's good for cryptic messages.
Yeah, it was. I think it was that this first year was that Ring of Honor year when he signed with WWE.
Okay,
all right. Because he made that announcement and he wrote that summer out.
Right.
Summer of Punk, and I guess he's for another run. So
yeah, so Roman says he didn't move the needle like The Rock or John Cena. Your thoughts?
Here's what I'll say about about Roman's comments. I agree and I disagree.
Okay.
I think he half told the truth. I understand his frustration and I understand what he was trying to say. But let me explain. Did CM Punk think he was as popular as The Rock and John Cena and all this stuff? He thought he was on that level. Yes, he did. He really believed that about himself. Was he? No, he wasn't. You know what I mean? So in that aspect of what Roman is talking about, he's telling the truth. You know what I mean?
Are you talking like merchandise long term, not that short term?
In general, period. Like you can't. There's no matching up, right? Because when
Absolutely not.
Because you when you look at longevity, you know their effect on the business, overall aspect of it. There's no real. He's not really in that category. Could he have been if he stayed around? Probably, most likely. But the reality is he wasn't. But he saw himself there already. Did he move the needle? Yes, he did. That's why I disagree with Roman, because I'm like, man, you can't say he didn't move the needle because he did, because he gave birth to the independent star. He proved that he broke that glass ceiling for all the guys who were considered non-stereotypical brand of superstar that could be more than just utility guys in the WWE. He proved that they can be world champions, they can be moneymakers, they can be draws. He moved that needle forward, because without him, there's no Daniel Bryan, there's no Kevin Owens, there's no NXT. Right. You know what I mean? There's no Seth Rollins. You know, those are the indie darlings. You know, we don't enjoy Sami Zayn, we don't enjoy Shinsuke Nakamura, we don't enjoy AJ Styles. You know, that's something that CM Punk, I will always give him credit for anything that he's done, is that he proved that the independent superstar could be WWE superstars. You know, so everything that we enjoy of what NXT would eventually become, I think CM Punk took all those daggers first because he wasn't afraid to. He broke all those doors down. He took all those bullets to the back. He took all those arrows, and the WWE was forced to change their mind. Like he moved that needle, and then Daniel Bryan carried it to another level. And then now a lot of guys that came after them got to benefit and enjoy what they did. CM Punk started that journey, and it's like Daniel Bryan carried him to the promised land. So, you know, you got Moses that led the people out of Egypt, but then you had Joshua that led the people to the promised land. That's Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. That's how it worked. Did he move the needle? Absolutely. Because he changed the format in which we celebrate the type of superstars that we enjoy in professional wrestling today.
Well, I'm glad we was, able to bring this up, because that's the thing, obviously, a needle is subjective, right? And what I mean subjective, we're talking different things. You brought up a good point. Like, did he move the needle as far as like making hand over fist money? No. But without him, you've always said this on so many shows, and before we was able to do shows again, that he never reaped the benefits of his revolution. And the same thing could be said about his wife, AJ Lee. I was sitting there watching, I'm in the SummerSlam rabbit hole, and not as much as I usually am, but I was watching 2013, and it was AJ versus Caitlyn. Well, in the mixed tag match. And I was just like, man, if she was still here, like all the matches she would be having, and I always said that it was unfortunate that she left. However, I can understand why, but it was unfortunate because just when the way we celebrate women's wrestling and way we look at it was changing, she wasn't there, and she would have been right along in for the dance, and I think that, I hate to say it, but she might be like one of them forgotten stars for the casual fan.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because they're gonna go realize that, for the hardcore fans, obviously, but for the casual fan, they might forget about the importance and the contributions that AJ Lee made. She'll kind of go down like a Leilani Kai or Wendy Richter. You know what I mean? Like they have their place.
That's rough.
Yeah, but they have like their place in history. But when you say, most people say greatest women's wrestler, they'll go back to Fabulous Moolah, Mae Young, because of what they did later years. But then they'll jump right to Trish Stratus.
Yep.
And you know what I mean? And Lita. Even Alundra Blaze is often forgotten.
Yep.
And that's why
that's more or less what she reminds you of more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Alundra Blaze, because Alundra Blaze carried the torch for a long time, but then after her, when she did what she did, when she jumped ship to WCW, that they kind of steered away from it, and understandably so, because you probably financially the WWE F at the time wasn't in the best of financial straits, and women's wrestling wasn't a big financial draw for the company. So it was like, well, let's not really focus on this, because before we get the Attitude Era, and women were depicted in a different light. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, the women's championship will be brought back to light, and the rebirth of a women's division. But yeah, I mean, that's what she reminds me of a lot of time. Like, yeah, she was the one that belonged in that same group with when the women's wrestling began to take off, but she left at the top of her game. Yeah. Think about it, like Alundra Blaze left at the top of her game. You know what I mean? And so did AJ. AJ left at the top of her game. Now, she just couldn't stand the product for where they were displaying women, and then where she probably dropped it off is where probably Paige and then the Bella Twins.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The Bella Twins, I think they don't get enough credit because what they did was they took their looks and their crossover appeal, but they still used it to push women's wrestling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They didn't try to say, okay, we're models now, we're rich, we don't got to wrestle anymore, let's move on. You know what I mean? That wasn't the case. They wanted to wrestle, they wanted to get in, they wanted to mix it up, but they wanted to do both. And there wasn't a lot of women superstars that were able to do that, to say, because you got the hardcore, I just want to wrestle, I just want to wrestle, I just want to wrestle. That was AJ Lee. I just want to wrestle, I don't care about that else, I just want to wrestle. Okay, that's cool, but you got to make money. It's an entertainment company. You're not here to just wrestle, you're here to entertain. She's in a couple of storylines, a couple of things here and there, but the Bella Twins kind of brought that total package appeal. They weren't the best at what they did, in regards to that, but they did well enough, and they did quite a bit more than a lot of women superstars at the time. You know what I mean? So, that's just what it was.
Would you frown at a Bella Twins tag team championship run?
Now? Now? Probably, yeah.
You would?
Because
okay.
It's too little too late, in my opinion. They kind of had their turn, they had their run.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, you have so many women, so much more women talent.
Right.
Like, why not keep doing what you're doing? Like, why not keep building new stars right now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they have so much women's talent, and they got so much in there. They're already, trying to phase out the older. They don't want to make new older stars.
No, I got
make new stars that are older. And it's like, well, you got all this young talent. Why not push them and develop them? You've been working with these girls. It's rather than have another Bella Twins run, because well, what is that really going to benefit you long term? You know what I mean? Like right now, the women's tag title is, to me, it's a classic. It's a classic way they're booking the title, because back in the day, the title didn't change a lot, and sometimes it didn't matter if the champion was hurt. That champion held that belt until they got back, unless it was something like you out for a year and a half, something like that. Right. So you look at Natalya and Tamina. I'm not having no problem with them. There's no other women right now that you have to put the title on.
Yeah, and I think even with Natalya being hurt, it's no rush to get the titles off.
No, not at all. And I'm okay with that. Like that doesn't bother me, because what they're doing, they're not trying to pretend like it's a title that's so in demand, because you don't highlight women's wrestling to that degree.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't have a women's only show, like a women's dark match type show where, you know what I mean? Where that can change. Like 205 Live was meant to be, okay, the issue with the Cruiserweight Championship a long time ago, right, was there was no place for it to be depicted unless you were a popular cruiserweight. Mm-hmm. Let's talk mid-2000s, 2004-ish, 5-ish maybe. Rey Mysterio, when he first came in, because he wasn't in that division for too long. Even people like Matt Hardy at one point. Then you had like Shane Helms or Gregory Helms or the Hurricane. Then Jamie Noble and slightly Billy Kidman for his cup of coffee as an in-ring talent. But it's like that title was defended on Jacked. That title was defended.
Wow, you took it back. Jacked.
Oh yeah, on MTV. That was the that title was defended on Sunday Night Heat, which we learned when those were the dark matches before Raw and SmackDown and pay-per-views. That's where they recorded their stuff, formerly known as Shotgun Saturday Night. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then you have they revived it through this Cruiserweight Classic. They made the title specially because it was a tournament, which was something I know Vince McMahon wasn't a big fan of, or still isn't, because it's an old school wrestling thing. But Triple H figured it'd work on a smaller level. You crown a Cruiserweight champion, and then you give it its own show, 205 Live. So you purposely have a place where you can say, well, whoever's at the top of this card, you don't got to worry about booking them on the main show, because they have their own show to defend this title. The whole show is built around this title. Yeah. There's nothing like that for women's championship titles. Not for Raws, the SmackDown, or the women's tag titles. So there's no need to really rush and put the titles, especially on. Natalya is a superstar. Tamina is a superstar. They're legends. They don't matter whether they come or go. They're going to be treated the same way. Natalya and Tamina are not going to come out and get booed all of a sudden because they haven't been on TV for 6 months. Because they're already made women. Like, you don't got, they're OGs. You don't got to, when you see them, fans going to cheer them because they put on the show in the ring. That's what they do. Like, you're going to get great matches out of both of them. Let them put them tag titles on somebody young and it's up and coming. They're going to say, they're a waste. They're not going to treat that to veterans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't bother me. But, you know.
Which have they got this breakout tournament. We was talking about tournaments on a smaller level. They got this breakout tournament. Odyssey Jones and Carmelo Hayes will take on each other. NXT breakout superstars. I think it's cool. You got two young black stars. I really like Carmelo Hayes. I know he's like kind of on the smaller side, but he kind of he's got a look to him that I think he could have like some sort of crossover appeal. I don't know if you got a chance to check him out yet. But I've been enjoying what I've been seeing him in the ring. And I want to see what happens from here. NXT is still at that weird period for me. It's obviously it's all Samoa Joe and Samoa Joe, Karrion Kross, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, Hit Row. They doing their thing, but if we can be 100% honest, it's still, I think we're still waiting. It's something else. It's like another level that they got to get to.
Of course,
and it's okay, but it's not. I'm not going to act like they're must-see TV for everybody. They may be must-see TV for a demographic by all means, but not for everybody. But I think they can get there. It's just it's just one of those things you got to let it build last time because a couple of them are green still. Yeah,
it's funny you mention it because NXT is in that awkward place where they have to reestablish who they are, and they have to they kind of have to get back to what makes them, and that's kind of creating new stars. I think NXT kind of went in a direction where it will. I don't want to say they were focused on becoming a third brand, but I think the fact that they became a third brand came with new added pressures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got your own TV deal. You got your own stuff. So it's this awkward balance of, okay, well, do we compete on a Wednesday night? Like AEW take shots at it and say, it was abysmal because they lost the war and we drove them away. And they're like, well, they were there first. What are you saying? And like, but they wanted to go live on television because we were going. I'm like, well, the network wanted them on TV. What are you saying? Not making any, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like at the end of the day, it was always developmental that turned into a third brand. It just didn't look that way because you had guys that were willing to go back, guys that didn't want to leave because they were more acceptable of the structure in NXT versus what it means with the main roster. Now,
well, also remember we always we talk about, we'll go more in depth one day about that time period of wrestling where you really honed in on the indies when they're call them indie megastars were there, right?
Yeah,
the indie
superstar, yep.
And then all of a sudden they're on NXT. So when you see them, for some, you ain't gotta search through YouTube. You can see them on your WWE network. So that was a time where all those people were coming over. It was like that made it must-see TV as well.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what it is. You got to understand, like this. The era of the indie superstars is dwindling because you have 2.5 national promotions, maybe 4 altogether. Like if you count New Japan,
which one you counting?
Well, I was Impact. Impact is technically considered a national promotion, but they don't really travel. You know what I mean? But they have a national TV deal. Well, I guess it's national, regional. I'm not sure. I don't what you consider access, but their product is available globally. They have working partnerships with AEW, which is a national promotion, and then you have working promotion with New Japan, which is expanding into the U.S. That's why they have United States Championship, and they got rid of what title did they get rid of? I think they got rid of the Intercontinental title. Finally,
really?
I think they did. Yeah, a while ago.
Okay, because Tanahashi just won the U.S. title, right?
Yeah, from Moxley.
Yeah.
No, from Archer.
Wait, no, Archer.
Archer, yeah,
because Archer just got it.
Yeah, yep. He just beat Moxley for it, and Archer was in New Japan, he had the title before. He had that title before. I think he had that title before he even got to AEW.
Oh, okay. Like after Omega?
Like way after. Like he was I don't know who he won it from, but he was before he made his AEW, kind of, I don't want to say debut, but made his name. He was, that's what he was known for. That's what I knew him from.
Yeah.
That's where that gimmick came from. That Murder Hawk monster look was his run in New Japan before he started, I guess, working in AEW full time. So, you got about 4 national promotions now, and it's like, man, the global superstars starting to go because New Japan was working with Ring of Honor. So a lot of those guys in Ring of Honor were working in New Japan and vice versa. But that was all the mega talent in the world. You know what I mean? Now you had guys like Uhaa Nation, which is Apollo Crews that was in Dragon Gate. You know what I mean? You had guys like Pac and Adrian Neville that didn't work Ring of Honor, stuff like that, but they were in, making their rounds and doing I believe it's PWG and all that kind of stuff.
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah.
I've been very vocal. I'm not a fan of the AEW Dark format. I feel like, and this is also happened because of the pandemic, right? The pandemic, it was before the pandemic, AEW Dark was the superstars on the lower part of the ladder and roster that got a chance to shine and develop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden the pandemic happens. They said they would allow people to kind of get those paychecks. So AEW Dark goes from 1 hour to 2 hours and sometimes feels like 8 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much did that affect a possibility of an indie superstar? And the reason why I asked that, because I'm thinking like without AEW Dark, if AEW Dark was in this previous format, now you're getting to see these indie stars and you kind of develop more without getting that extra exposure. So you're looking at it like, man, I wonder where is he going to go, as opposed to just, oh, he's good, let's throw him. I'm gonna go to AEW Dark, and why not? They giving you a paycheck, right? But then you go there and then you get jobbed out.
Well, here's the hustle, because AEW will always use. Here's how it's marketed to independent superstars or independent up and coming indie guys, and this is what you understand. Adam Cole would have never went on AEW Dark to lose to anybody because you know what they're doing. I knew. I saw you reaching for one of those buttons, right? The independent superstars of yesteryear would have never traveled to another company, whether it's national or not, you would never catch them on Jacked or Sunday Night Heat or whatever the weekend show was, just for exposure. Not at that point when they were already independent superstars. Right. You know what I mean? Now, see what AEW does is they get to say, hey, first of all, they get an open tryout. We get to see talent for free because we'll book you as long as you can pay to get here. That's free. And if you're halfway decent, the crowd likes you. Hey, we'll sign you to a raggedy contract, but it'll be consistent money. And you know what I mean? And it's probably either more than you were going to trying to make ends meet now, especially during the pandemic, right? Traveling to indies, and also we don't have to put you on our main television show because we have 2 dark shows where you can come and develop, and then you'll still get a chance to do what you were going to do anyway, except you get to do it for more money, and you get to do it in front of a live audience, and it's going to be televised in some way, shape, or form, whether it's YouTube, streaming service, whatever the case may be. With that format, it's difficult for a guy to sit and say, "No, I'm gonna stay and keep hitting the streets until I build myself to be a superstar to the point where I'm undeniable, and you have no choice but to pay me big money by the time you want me." Yeah, it kills it because NXT honestly does the same thing. They try to snatch you up before you realize you're a superstar, because then they can build you. They can tell you how good you are, and then they can determine for you where you go, which is what a lot of guys didn't take to. Like Andrade is the biggest one to me. He didn't take that well at all. He was an established star around the world, but nobody knew who he was because he was known as La Sombra. He didn't debut as that. Now he wore the mask for as long as he did, kind of like how Santos Escobar did. He'll wear the mask just to kind of reverence his past and his his lucha heritage. But it's like, man, nobody knew him as La Sombra when he came Andrade. Right. When he first made his debut, I knew he was somebody important because he looked like it. But it was a whole different look, a whole different character, and I was like, oh yeah, he can really go in the ring. That's what I knew about him. His exchange with Austin Aries before Austin Aries got hurt, and I was like, oh boy, this guy can go. And then of course, to me, he really broke out with him and Johnny main event, a takeover that we thought was going to be a down takeover, but it was nowhere near a down takeover. So, but most what indie guy's going to turn down AEW money and exposure like that these days? And there's no established guys right now that's so big and so like that. Kevin Steen was a brand. I don't care. He may not have no money because he's working at gas stations and working Ring of Honor. Jay Lethal, Roderick Strong, they would have never showed up on anybody's national promotion to get jobbed out just for a tryout.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's something you do when you're fresh, but it's like, do I stand in these for another 10 or 15 years to make a name for myself? And then, like a Karrion Kross been around for a while. Nobody remembers him in Impact. You know what I mean? Nobody remembers those runs, but he worked at it. He was one of those guys that he became undeniable. So when he first got there, they were like, oh, no, he needs to go straight to the main roster. He just needs some polishing. But they put him in NXT, and he's doing well. You look at it, and there's a couple of guys that have done that weren't supposed to be superstars. Tommaso Ciampa is playing the same character now that he did before, but he just didn't know how to do it right. Like he didn't have that fresh polish, because I was like, man, I was annoyed with him. I didn't like, he had a blonde mohawk. He was kind of that same deranged character, but it wasn't no power. I was like, man, whatever. Nope, didn't pay him any mind. And then he gets to WWE and he becomes an entirely different entity. And he knows if he wants to survive in that main roster, that guy's beefing up his physique. I was concerned about him before. He's not gonna be an issue once he gets to the main roster. He's beefing up real bad, like he's jacked. And I was like, oh yeah, he took his pandemic well. You know what I mean? Damien Priest. I was never a fan of Punishment Martinez. I'm like, here we go, another tall devil character. What is he gonna do now? He was very stagnant. He's very flat. He gets to NXT. He tries to be this kind of this playboy character. It's different from what he does, but then he becomes the Archer of Infamy. This guy's up next. Like, he's a key player. Huh?
You like him?
I do. Because they toned him down. Him, and I'm saying this right now, I'm derailing my whole point, but him and guys like Lance Archer are the same prototype of wrestler, where they're big and sometimes they're on the indie and they don't know what to do with themselves, and they make this menacing look, and they try to be scared. But this is the most natural I've seen Damien Priest his whole career, even in NXT, because you could tell he was still trying to figure out who he was. Now Damien Priest kind of stands in a class by his own. He's not the devil guy. He's not the tall motorcycle guy. He's not the playboy. He's just Damien Priest. You know what I mean? His pairing with Bad Bunny did him well, because it got him a lot of extra exposure, and he looked really cool in what he was doing. Lance Archer needs Triple H. He needs NXT really bad. You know, guys like Wardlow from AEW, he needs Triple H really, really bad. You know,
but WWE gonna mess him up.
No, they won't, because that guy's the next Dave Bautista. I'm telling you right now. He's it. Wardlow, okay. Wardlow's it. I'm telling you, like he's it. But you know, it's I can't see the independent superstar now, because there aren't any. Because the minute they get somewhat hot, they snatch them up. Look at Fuego del Sol just got signed with AEW. You know who he reminds me of? Who does he? When you see him, go back to 2010, 11, 12. Who does he remind you of?
Sin Cara?
See, you got to go to the independents. You got to go to the streets.
Okay. Wait.
Think about all the conversations you had with Shark. I'm telling you who he reminds me of. Because you know, Shark is the one that points
El
out
Generico?
Yes, indeed. Yes, exactly. I'm trying to tell you.
Shout out to Shark.
That's who he reminds me of, right? But guess what though? He just signed an AEW contract. He's not gonna be out there long enough to make a name for himself. Like, imagine how big he would be in the next 5 years if he stayed as Fuego. If he showed up on AEW, right? If he showed up on NXT doing even if he did do a squash match on WWE made programming. What if he goes to New Japan and wins the light heavyweight title? What if he travels to AAA? What if he travels to MLW? There's places you can still go and make a name for yourself. Imagine where he will be in 5 years if he stayed as Fuego del Sol making a name for himself. But now AEW comes out there and signs him to a contract. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like, the process is not the same anymore. That's a perfect example. I'm like, yo, when you saw him in the ring, he reminds me a lot of the same as that. He undersized, can work, can do things that you have not seen before. And you say to yourself, I've seen everything in professional wrestling. But then you see a guy like him, like, man, he's athletic. He's got this look. Of course, he has this generic lucha look. And I was like, dude, I've seen the story before, you know. But a guy like Sami Zayn came onto the scene after spending so many years starving, but people knew who he was. And even when he was in, I don't know if it was NXT at the time, or it was fresh NXT. I don't think he was there for FCW. If he was there, he was there like at this last limbs. He debuted, his tryout match was still as El Generico, just to try it out. I remember that. I remember they kept saying he debuted last night as El Generico, and then after that he got the name changed and Sami Zayn was born. Yeah. But man, I don't between NXT. Vince is in create new star mode. AEW is in brand building mode, and they're grabbing young talent, and they're both hoarding young talent. And with AEW, if you notice, is they're trying to give the young talent space to hoard, to show their craft with no pressure. That's why there's 2 dark match shows. I don't understand it. There's dark and there's dark elevation. I don't really watch neither one of them. I watch anytime Wardlow's on there, I try to watch that.
This is.
I don't understand it.
That's what I'm doing.
I'm like, what's the difference? And my problem is AEW has 50 shows and they're all the same.
Bingo.
Give them different names. Like, what's the difference between like I'm gonna say that for the angry rant, but because I got a bone to pick with AEW about some things.
You
want
to go ahead now? Because
go ahead, hit the button, yo.
We gotta come in correct. There you go.
No, trust me, it's cool. When I get back in studio, I'm gonna be able to hear the sounds a little bit more. Here's my problem. We debut AEW Rampage, right? That's the second show.
On the depth side of television. I my book's in the other room, but
Why in the world do you not brand that show as a completely different looking entity than your freaking original show? You got all that money, you in there with all them fans. I'm like, bro, Nitro looked completely different from freaking Thunder. Okay.
Raw, what was the first thing you saw SmackDown? It looked like a little Thunder.
It did
because of the blue ropes.
It was blue. Right.
They could have made this gold. I'm just saying,
bro. Like not it had a different feel to it, right? WCW Monday Night Show was one thing. This is where you got to learn from your history, or you're doomed to repeat it. I don't understand how you at TNT and there's not somebody in the marketing department say, yo, we have to make this look somewhere. It's the same set. It's the same little casino looking stuff they had since the beginning. And y'all got a whole new show and you just added a different logo at the bottom. I'm like, bro, it's the same show, but it's shorter and it's more wrestling. What's the difference?
I flexed that one time. I'm gonna flex my credentials, let people know I know what I'm talking about. 2019, we came up with a new show at my shoot job. Y'all can Google me and find out what it is. I said it on here before.
But we had shoot job, like
so we had a webinar series, right? It looked one way. So then we created another one, right? I decided, you know what? We need to change the colors. We need to make the lower thirds look different. That way, it's not the same thing. Now, me being a wrestling fan, but also understanding how to produce television and videos, I know that. You know what I mean?
How
you know that?
How? We're not being paid 6 figures to fart.
Right.
Like these TV guys burp and they make 6 figures. I'm like, and nobody made a suggestion. Hey, this is a second show. Like, if it's called Rampage, let's even make a jungle set or something. Like, do something different. Like,
that's it.
It's simple. Nitro looked different from Thunder. Like, it was a completely different look. Raw looked different from SmackDown. Raw looked different from Sunday Night Heat or whatever pay-per-view you had.
Shotgun looked different from Jacked.
Like everything.
Velocity.
Jack was the Velocity. That's what I kept calling the Jack. Was it Jack?
No, it wasn't Jack.
Velocity. Velocity was green. Everything was green. Like, it was. I'm just like, yo, you mean to tell me
Saturday Morning Slam?
Saturday Morning Slam with
and it was super bright.
That was the kids show that came on Cartoon Hours. I was like, yo, it's these subtleties that you do to have to show the separation of the show. NXT, even when NXT was a contest, they still changed those ropes to yellow, and everything looked different in the beginning. While Daniel Bryan and Chris Jericho, they had the whole setup before it was the show that we know it is to be now. NXT, same thing, different vibe. It's not. It's going to have its pieces of WWE, but it's going to be this rough, rugged. How the heck you got a second show and it looks the same with just an hour?
See, I'm gonna break the fourth wall here real quick. You know why he's upset? Because this is the same stuff that he would talk to me about when we created Wrestling Realm Now. You got the Wrestling Realm with the red background. You got Give Me the Book. Purple background. You got Break It Down with Brian H. Totally different logo. And because we're remote, yeah, okay, the background's gonna look the same, but that's because we're remote.
Mm-hmm.
The whole purpose,
And it's also a podcast.
it's a
Like
podcast.
it doubles.
Exactly. You got the promos with the white background.
Exactly. Like,
so look at our channel and you will see the difference. You'll actually see a difference between season 1 and season 2. It's posters.
yeah, exactly. And we had belts on the wall. Like, it's literally just about. I don't understand. Like, just like you. What? I hope y'all the people at AEW find this stuff and give us a call so we can help you guys out and pay us a lot of money to do it, because that's just basic. This is free information. How the heck who in they right? Like, I looked at it. I was like, okay, Rampage. Like, this has got to be their Thunder or their SmackDown. I watched. I said, you got to be kidding me. Y'all really
I didn't see anything until I never watched it because
you didn't have to. Just look at the clips. You can't tell what show it is.
That was the thing. I was getting ready to say that. I saw the clips and I noticed when I saw Omega get hit with the when Christian Cage hit the finisher, and I was like, oh, okay, but it was nothing different.
You know what's different? The hard camera's in a different spot.
Are you serious?
I swear that from what I see, it's not at Daly's place anymore. I don't know.
Wow.
Like,
so that's all they did.
Bro, literally, I was like, what is this? Like, new opening and new logo. But I'm like, yo, this does not have a different feel to the show.
But let's be real, you can't even tell the difference when you're watching a pay-per-view versus the show.
Same thing. Like when they had All In the first time, and it had that casino looking thing, and I was like, okay, this is a nice set for this theme. But then every Dynamite had the same set. I'm like, so now, granted, pandemic. I said, so are they not going to change the set? So we gonna use the same set for everything? And I was like, all right, okay, whatever.
I mean, you could really just tape the ropes a different color.
To me, it's just they use cables like WCW.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's just AEW. That's all it is. Like, I don't care what you call the show, because you got AE Dynamite, Rampage, Dark Elevation. Like, bro, what is all this about? Y'all done paid Big Show, Mark Henry all this money to do a bunch of nothing. Like, I'm like, what? I'm waiting for them to get involved somehow. And I'm like,
I don't want to hear give it time, folks. This is something that could have been done, And we here to give it time when you talk about the diversities and the black superstars.
Not trying to hear that, because
I ain't trying to hear that when it comes to this.
Let WWE had done something like that. It's a different story. I think people are so excited about a new product that they don't have to deal with WWE. And I trust me, I've done it before, and I don't blame you. But at the same time, though, let's keep it fair. Let's critique both. Let's not critique one versus the other, because AEW has massive potential, and I'm like, where is your freaking marketing department? You guys can make what you guys do look like a big deal. We know you can sell out arenas. Great, perfect. I'm glad. We know that's a thing, because the wrestlers, that's what they care about, because they need that energy in the ring. They need that energy in the building. Great, exactly. Right? But I'm watching it on television. Like, you think I want to watch it because I like wrestling all the time? I watch wrestling anytime I want to. That's not no reason for me to. I don't watch. If I had so much access to wrestling. If there's something I like on AEW, I don't have to watch it. I can go on YouTube the next day and find the part that I like, watch that, and keep it moving. And guess what? I did the same thing when I watched TNA. I never could get through a whole show. Even in this heyday, I struggled. I was like, bro, this is boring. Watching Sanjay Dutt and Eric Young for 15 minutes is killing me. You know what I mean? But you would try to stick around to see what you could see. And AEW to me is the same thing. I'm like, bro, as the show is boring, like, when's Jericho and them coming out? I want to see them do something. I know he's gonna where's Sting at? I'm looking for Sting every week. Like, where's Sting and Christian at? I'm not worried about everybody else. So, man, I said, and I knew this was gonna be. I said, let it watch. This is gonna be the same thing, nothing different. I said, y'all don't even change the setup or nothing. Like, Raw, SmackDown, ECW all look different. I'm like, yo, y'all not even. We know it's under one brand, but sheesh. I was like, man, this is That's the stuff I'm talking about, man.
Bitty things.
It is, man. Like,
that go a long way.
Perception is everything. Like, you can afford to do it, then do it.
That's the thing right there, though. They brag about millions of dollars. Come on,
WCW. Eric Bischoff didn't have to change the way Thunder set looked, just but he wanted to on purpose because he understands television, and he said it. I wanted to have a completely different feel to it. So you knew it was the sideshow, but you knew. You couldn't tell what it was, because you might see Hogan, you might not. But at the same time, but I'm gonna tell you what you were going to see. You were going to see Booker T. You were going to see Fit Finlay. You know what I mean? You were going to see Raven. You was going to see Diamond Dallas Page. That was that. It wasn't a mid-card show because Kevin Nash and them was on there. They weren't featured as much, but they were still involved. Like, that was, and SmackDown was the same way. We didn't know what SmackDown was going to be, but you realize, shoot.
Let's go further back. Worldwide.
Yeah.
Worldwide looked different than Saturday night.
Yes,
You
it
know,
did. And it was filmed in the same space.
same space.
It was right there in James Theater in the OT&A Dome, as I call it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right there in Universal Studios.
Mm-hmm. So
And,
yeah,
and I remember when TNA debuted, I was like, bro, this is where they used to shoot WCW at. Like, I immediately when I saw it, I was like, oh, that nostalgic feel was enough for me to just stick around and see what was going on.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It didn't stick long term because it was, Don West and Mike Tenay was over the top. Like, oh, they trying to really make this like it's a big deal. But WWF, and I like TNA early on because, like I said, everybody that got cut between that 2001, 2004 era of, everyone who wasn't in ECW, WWE, and WCW that all got cut was then TNA at one point. And they only popped up to make certain appearances and stuff like that. But man, AEW is like, yo, y'all are, they're not unsuccessful, but you're not giving me all the promises that you claim. I can criticize them more than WWE because WWE's for children. If I don't like that, I'm like, well, they're gonna do? Well, you watch the demographic anyway, so you're supposed to come to the live show, enjoy the thing, and buy the expensive belts because that's what your demographic is known for. And when it comes to our money, we need your money come WrestleMania time. When it's time for you to bring your children and stuff like that, we ain't worried about it. If you like it, I need to make sure your kids got memories because guess what? Your kids gonna be the one that's growing up on it. And you know what I mean? AEW's like, oh, this for the diehards. Well, I'm a diehard and I'm dying hard watching y'all. I'm glad.
Hey,
I'm glad it's there.
uh-huh.
It just could be so much better. With like, and you don't even have to do like I talked about it last time. We talked that Aleister Black's freaking debut. I said, bro, why don't y'all keep y'all same? And I don't care for crap. I'm angry rant. I haven't had one in like 2 years. Keep that same energy for y'all video packages for your television presentation. Like you can tell there's no Kevin Dunn. Like Aleister Black when he came out, you knew what it was because the way they shot it. They shot they gonna pan. This is we're production guys, so they're gonna pan across them candles. You're gonna see this. You like okay, you're gonna hear that music. You're gonna see the smoke, and then up rises. Boom. This guy wasn't featured a lot. Like it's no secret he was underused in the WWE, right? But his presentation alone was like, yo, that was different. You know when Aleister Black's debut, it was something that stuck. Undertaker's debut, the light goes out. Stuff. It's subtle stuff like that. John Cena at the beginning when his music hits, it's like the ultimate wind up. It's subtle things like that. And I'm like, yo, that's how he came out with a helmet on and all black with some shorts on. I said, bro, I'd have had him in the biggest elaborate jacket. The skull mask was cool. I'd have had I'd have had Druids coming to the ring like Undertaker. It'd have been crazy just to make an impression like, oh my goodness, Malachi Black is just different. He's just another wrestler now. Oh, okay, great. Okay, we're doing this whole wrestler thing now. Okay, you're right. He's a great wrestler. I've never seen a guy I'm not a big fan of the guy, but I've never seen him have a bad match. Like I'm not hating on the guy at all. I'm just not. But then the way he debuted, impactful. Boom. I was like, oh, okay, you got my attention now. His debut, he comes out in all black with a hood on, his little mask, and I'm like, that's it. Like, how you gonna run that back? And then you have the nerve to clip it off of social media and YouTube. Like, that's the clip. Like, you know what I mean? Like in WWE, if Undertaker returned, they gonna put up a clip of the Undertaker's returning, not the match, just his entrance. For instance, Edge, one of the top viewed clips in WWE history, when his return at the Royal Rumble. It was so elaborate. His energy was so all over the place. That clip by itself, not the match, the clip is a moment that everybody goes, wow, that's what's going to last forever in my head because when Edge returned and that music hit and the fans went crazy. That was his entrance, his look. What if he came out wearing all black and just an E on the side of his pants? You'd be like, this looks lackluster. Goldberg still got sparklers. He still comes out there. He does this boom, boom, and his kick. I'm like, yo, that and that might be the best part of a Goldberg match. Just the hype of it. You're like, man, I'm excited. Brock Lesnar, same thing. You get the AEW, they just don't care. It's about wrestling. Okay, great. I'm all right. Like I haven't seen that. Like I haven't watched Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart in the 60-minute Iron Man match. Like I've seen good wrestling, bro. You ain't gotta. I got the network, even though it's on Peacock. only did one bone to pick today, so I ain't gonna go there. But don't tell me you catering to me as this level of fan, then you can't give me something better than I've already seen before. And then you want to swear to me it's gonna revolutionize the business? Well, who?
Oh boy, he's going off. we're gonna get to the SummerSlam preview, but before we get there, travel. Did you watch anything from the old days this week?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
Booker T's last match at SummerSlam before he left to go to TNA against Triple H.
Okay.
I think it's 2007 to whatever.
Yeah.
The 2007
or maybe 8. I think
was
that
it 8?
might have been, yeah.
Might be 8. I don't remember.
I feel like I was watching it in the forbidding apartment.
Triple H was returning. I'm not going. Triple H was returning.
Yeah. But yeah,
Triple H was returning, and this was the first run in my whole life that I was ever a Triple H fan. Like from this point on up, that's when I was kind of like, you know what? I think I kind of like Triple H. And I went back and watched this stuff, and I was like, man, I hated this guy for so long, but I'm like, man, he's really good at what he does. But this match versus Booker, I was mad because I was like, man, I could have watched that for an hour. Mm-hmm. Always liked Booker T. I didn't like their match at WrestleMania, whatever that was, when Triple H wore the purple draws. But to me, where Booker T was in 2008 or whenever that was, that SummerSlam was Triple H, I was like, yo, that was probably one of my favorite matches. So that's one of my favorite all-time Booker T matches of all time, and Triple H. So yeah, that was, to get into the SummerSlam groove of things.
You bring up Triple H and that run.
Mm-hmm.
To me, he always felt like he belonged, but he felt like the old guy, which I understood his role. Like he was kind of that. Okay, I'm still with these guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the Undertaker was, but to me, it just felt like one Triple H was like bigger than the John Cenas and the Randy Ortons and the Jeff Hardys and the Edges, right?
He was that living legend status because he was still competing.
Yeah, but like he wasn't like a part timer. It was just like I didn't hate it, but it was just kind of weird, But
really,
really, yeah, I didn't hate it, but it was it felt different.
To me, and the crazy part is that's my favorite Triple H run. Okay. Like that's like when I really was like, yo, I'm like, for whatever reason, I guess I like the fact that he was the old dog that could still hang with the young dudes and he was still around. You know what I mean?
That was SummerSlam 07.
I said it's 07. I knew
you right. True. Yeah, you're right. I just remember where I watched it. And I must have been watching the tape rather than live.
So, that was one of the to me, I was like, yo, that was my favorite run of his. Like anything before that, I was like, I was never like
But I don't like seeing photos with Triple H with the spinner. Like to me,
I'm okay with it. He's one of the guys that made me like it. Him and Jeff Hardy.
See, that's the thing, right? Because you like that Triple H. Where I like that Triple H, but to me, like if I'm gonna look at a photo of Triple H, it has to be the Big Eagle or the Big Gold. Even though I was not like I love to hate him at those times. To me, like that's the belt he's supposed to be wearing.
No, I mean, no doubt. Like I said, it's something I can appreciate now. Like I went back and watched this stuff, and I was like, man, this was. I really was not like I didn't give him no room because it was if you weren't Austin Rock or Shawn Michaels, you had that there was no conversation with me or X-Pac. I had my lower guys that but top guys back in that day.
Did you like mid-card Triple H? I'm talking SummerSlam 98. Okay.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I was
because that's DX.
Guy. I was still part of me not like Triple H. I was mad he broke DX up. I was pissed. I was not okay. Like, and then when he went from wearing tights to wearing the trunks, I was like, yo, he's got draws on that. I was like, y'all, so he's trying to be a top guy. Like I felt what he was trying to do, and I didn't like it. I was like, nah.
Well, he had to separate his look from Shawn Michaels.
Well, during that time, I think he was trying to associate himself with The Rock and Austin. You know what I mean? Like he started getting bigger. He started focusing on his physique a little bit more, and I was like, man, he's trying to hang with the top guys. And it was a very underrated run just compared to it. It's like TNA stuff now. Like you can go back and watch stuff on Pluto TV for free. And I've always gone back and watched individual TNA matches that some of them were excellent, but I would back in those days you wouldn't catch me watching a whole TNA pay because I was a wrestling fan. Yeah, I was like, nah, I'm not supporting TNA because they think they hit the same problem I think AEW has now, like trying to compete instead of focusing on what makes them them. Yeah. And that was how I felt about Triple H. I was like, man, he's you're trying to associate yourself with The Rock and Austin, trying to be. You're not that guy. You're the DX guy. Go back to putting it back because I was briefly a fan of his when he put the band back together. But that was a short run either way. And to be honest with you, not too long after that, a lot of those guys in DX didn't last too long after that. You know, they had a lot of their own personal issues. And
You talking about in '99? At the end of '99 into 2000?
Yep, because you know, 2001, 2002, a lot of those guys were out of it. Billy Gunn was still hanging around. X-Pac was on Sunday
I don't
Night
even
Heat.
remember them breaking up. Like, I don't remember how it went down. And
I remember somebody. I think Billy Gunn got injured. He was off TV.
Okay.
X-Pac. I think
because you remember they were like it wasn't called the McMahon Helmsley regime, but it was called something when The Rock was beefing with them.
Well, it was Austin, as far as I remember. I'm
thinking of 2000. I know what you're talking about when Austin dropped the thing. I'm thinking of after Austin gets hurt, Rock going against DX, and you know they kind of getting in the way while he's chasing Triple H. You know, I know WrestleMania 2000, X-Pac and Road Dogg on the same team.
Yeah, they were kind of tagging and they were kind of doing that thing because I think Billy Gunn got hurt.
Yeah, that's when the Run DMC had the King of Rock music.
Yeah, because after a while you didn't see them anymore. Like even the music video, I'm like, why is it only Tori, Triple H, and Stephanie? That's not DX. And it was, you know, I was looking for the rest of the fellas, but that, you know, it was kind of phasing out for reasons that, you know, I'm sure we research it, go back and find it, but I wasn't a fan of Triple H then, but you know, that run he had, you know, full circle. I was like, yo, that was when I really was like, yo, he can go, because I don't know what it was. I was a huge Triple H fan around that time. Like I said, even the Spinnerball, he made me like it. I don't know, it's something about it. Like he made me, like, you know, I was against the title at first, but then eventually it just grew on me.
Same here.
And the crazy part is I wasn't a fan of it when John Cena had it, but it's just like when I seen Triple H with it, after a while you saw Edge with it, when you saw Jeff Hardy. Really, it was Triple H and Jeff Hardy. And even then, I still wanted them to change it then, but I wanted
it to stay with Cena. I didn't want it to, like, I wanted that to be his belt, like the way Austin had. Yeah, you know, and because we really didn't get the undisputed title that long. You know, I canceled a whole year of it because I was tired of JBL with it. So to me, it's like, you know, but like when I, you know, got the replica, I'm like, man, this is a gorgeous belt. We didn't get it long enough. And maybe also because when you really think about it, the Big Eagle was only around from 98 to 2002, but it was so impactful in those 4 years, right? It was a more of an impact for us than, say, shout out to you know, Stephen Michael, who's younger, that and David Shealy. For them, that's what the undisputed title is, because that's like their impact. You know, those are the ruthless.
That's the belt of their childhood.
Yeah, that's the belt of their childhood. You know, where us, technically, you know, the Winged Eagle's our childhood, and the Big Eagle is like our teenage years.
It's definitely split. Yeah, that's because we came from such a great era, though.
That's why I always have a hard time between the two.
Yeah, of course, because to me it represents the first half of my wrestling fandom, and the other represents the second half of my life. This is where I can't say it got started, because you know that title was around for a long time. Yeah. What was it, 88 to 97, something like that?
88 to 98.
90. Yeah, there you go. You know, when then WrestleMania 14 happened, and then that just. So I was always conflicted between. Same thing with the IC title. You know what I mean? That was a title I was livid when they changed it. You know what I mean? And once, you know, what it was small and purple and oval, I was like, oh, see, y'all playing games. But yeah, I mean, that's whatever title, like when the spinner, I think they didn't change it because of how popular it became. Like it was one of the highest selling merchandise. And it was an expensive belt. It was $400 belt. You know, not like it was cheap. So
I think today, you know, kind of like so many belt collectors on social media, you probably could have kept it as the John Cena belt.
Yeah.
And people still would have bought it because, you know, they would have known, you know, it's more stuff you're seeing it. People still would have bought it. And so you could have kind of had like the two belts like you did with the Austin Smoking Skull and, you know, the Big Eagle.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, this week, I haven't gone down my full SummerSlam path yet. You know, I got to. So, you know how WrestleMania 9 and 28 are usually like the ones I watch in full in WrestleMania season. Well,
I don't know why.
For SummerSlam, it's usually 98.
I'm tired of watching that one. That's how much I've seen that one.
The thing is, people will sit there and criticize it, especially the Austin Undertaker match, And I get what people they say about it, but to me,
Mhm.
it's one of those things like you're not going to stain my childhood of that buildup, right? That SummerSlam is a buildup that I will forever remember. Same way I did WrestleMania
No
15.
freaking doubt. I was ready to say
Yeah.
the same thing though. Like
Yeah.
we were the same. We in the same way. That's why we're brothers. We on the same wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was ready to say the same thing. Like, yo,
Give me
I
King
didn't.
of the Ring and let me go through the whole Raw every week.
I didn't like the match because to me it ended what was my peak feud in my childhood was Undertaker Austin.
Oh,
In
okay.
my mind, there was always the top guy and whoever he beefed with.
Mm-hmm.
And their run during that time, it was literally Undertaker and Austin. Like
Mm-hmm.
from to when he was before the Rock really, what I mean, came along, because at this time Rock was still he was there. Like he was coming, he was next. But but
Mm-hmm.
Rock was still when the Nation was still doing Nation domination. He was beef with DX, Triple H, which was I was having just as much fun with that. That ended, and I was like, bro, you killing me. Like, at the time as a kid, as an adult, I love change, but as a kid, I didn't want nothing to change. I want everything to stay the same.
Tell me about it.
Think about it. Merchandise. It's always two superstars you put in everything. And I noticed because I looked at every toy catalog, every book.
Mm-hmm.
Anything WWF related, it was an Austin, it was an Undertaker. If it was in a JCPenney catalog and they had monster trucks, it was an Austin monster truck. It was an Undertaker monster truck. If
Mm-hmm.
they had the
I had the
Kmart,
yo-yo, the Undertaker yo-yo from Kmart.
that's what I'm saying. If the Kmart had their catalog out and they had WWF water bottles, it was an Undertaker water bottle with a straw coming out of his head. It was a Steve Austin water bottle. Like they was the 1 and 2. They had that run, and then it was the buildup was insane to Highway to Hell at SummerSlam '98, and like MTV, like it was huge, and then it ended, and I was like, bro, it was never the same after that. Not the product, but that feud carried me through me getting back into the WWF because for the longest time I was a WCW guy, and wow, you really
That's all they gonna get. All right, that's 7 seconds.
yeah. So like that whole run, I was like, man, Austin Taker was it. Like when I think about the Attitude Era, the first half of the Attitude Era, I think about Austin Taker. It's Austin Taker, DX Nation, and everything that came with all that. So all the feuds, all the beef, all the matches, like that's and then of course Austin McMahon, with all that other stuff. But to me, that US and Sable say everything.
We're gonna have to do a retrospective show. And maybe we'll call that Wrealm Retrospective. I'm pretty sure you're the creative director, so you'll come up with a better name. But
I gotta design some type of old school WWF Attitude Realm style shirts.
Take notes, AEW.
Yeah, right. Like,
but I want to tackle SummerSlam '98. Because like we just I could see like I'll go down a whole rant on that show and how great it was. It's just it's one of my favorite it's probably my favorite SummerSlam. But SummerSlam 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 97. They were 2003, they were hitting it out of the park. You know what I mean? So I don't want to go down too far but one of the things I did watch, Lesnar and Cena. I watched that today. Because yesterday was Cena and Lesnar and Punk. But Lesnar,
the birth of Suplex City.
Yeah, Lesnar seeing the birth of Suplex City, and one of the things like we saw how, mind you, this is right after Lesnar just ended the streak, and we saw him begin that dominant run where he was just literally unstoppable.
Right.
And then the following year he goes into, and I saw this match as well, him and Undertaker. But just like I somehow got on a Brock Lesnar SummerSlam kick these past couple of days.
Brock.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna watch the 2002 because you talking about something being mad at. I was mad at that one. But
yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, like he beat Rock. You're like, no. But yeah, so that was something I watched, and you really saw, like I said, just the dominance. Which
That was supposed to be a triple. That was supposed to be a triple threat match if Austin wasn't injured, or Austin versus Goldberg.
Which one?
That match at WrestleMania 20. I'm thinking about Austin. I'm thinking about Brock Lesnar and Goldberg and Steve Austin. WrestleMania 20.
Really?
In my mind, I'm like, yeah. I said if Austin was healthy, that was definitely has supposed to have been Austin Goldberg or Austin versus Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar.
Oh man, that would have been crazy. You know, wow. Yeah, and it's just like every time it's funny because every time I hear something stupid, I give the Stone Cold when he found out he losing to Lesnar. So this is what we doing, huh?
Do the hands. Oh, so this is what we're doing.
Yep. All right. Oh man, the amount of times I did that in the past 2 weeks. Let's take a quick break and then we'll get into SummerSlam. No, let's not take a quick break because as I'm scrolling through clips, I seen a name and I said, wait a minute, I ain't even talk about this yet. And that is the fact that your boy, the one, the only Christian Cage is the new Impact Wrestling Champion. Let me tell you how busy I was that I didn't clip off the clip where you gave this idea months ago and they still botched it because they didn't do it right. You know, I was in the I was about to call it Clubhouse, but I was in Twitter Spaces on Saturday and I brought that up, you know, but you said that Christian could be the guy and you had the story written. It was perfect and they went in another direction. But how'd you feel when you see him in the
I could not be more happier when I saw that moment. Like that moment makes me want to say, okay, now I got to get the Impact World title. Like I got to get that belt now because to me that's like Christian Cage is my guy, and I have been very vocal about I haven't been all that enthused with his run in AEW up to this point because the spotlight that I saw him in is how I don't want to see him in any other spotlight outside of that, including WWE. You know, like him being in that main event spot, winning world championships. I'm like, yo, that's how you get your respect. That's how you solidify yourself as the top guy in the business. Period. So if he decides to go back, WWE has no choice but to respect. We can't treat him any other kind of way because he's a former world champion. He's still winning world championships. You know what I mean? And that was one of the things I was like, man, I couldn't have been more happier to see that. It only made sense. You know, he restored, you know, what the Impact World title has meant to so many wrestling fans, not because of it being the Impact World title, but just his connections to its TNA past. Yeah. You know, he comes back and he says, okay, you know, even behind closed doors, they said, you know, the TNA title was this funk, he retires it. But it makes sense. Like it was already retired, of course, but he brought it back for that failed gimmick, you know.
Oh, so it's officially retired?
He made it. He pretty much said, look, it's retired. It's defunct now. He retired it as, you know, the TNA World title merged with the Impact World title. So, and I was like, man, it's fitting because you had a former TNA Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Yep. You know, really, really do right by it, give it justice. And for him to win the Impact, I'm like, man, I get to see him on Impact every week. It's more reason he's the guy now. You know what I mean?
That's all you wanted.
That's all I wanted. Like, I was like, bro, like, yo, he's not working with the young guys. I said, because he could have did that in WWE. If that's the case, let him work with the young guys. Like, I don't, you know. But I'm like, yo, if Impact wasn't so, if I had access to it a little bit more, no pun intended, because it's on Access TV, I will be in such a better space because I could watch the Good Brothers on a regular basis. I could watch Brian Myers, to this day, one of the most underrated players in the business. I think he's got a bright future ahead of Matt Cardona. He's going
Brian
viral.
Myers is next,
bro. And then they face off. I was like, yo, I said, first of all, that Brian Myers is one of Christian Cage's young boys. You know, everybody knows that the Christian, you know, Myers and Cardona, they were, you know, that were their young boys. That's their uncles. You know what I mean? And to see that now, I was like, oh, he's going to work with all the young dogs in TNA now. Like, I'm happy because I'm like, well, shoot, that means we're going to see Christian in TNA more than we're going to see in Impact, more than we're going to see in AEW, because I'm like, I'm tired of watching him. And I think he did well with the Lucha Express. You know, as you call him, Jurassic Park. I was like, man, him being allied with them helped them a lot because you hate Lucha Express. Not Lucha Express. What do they call it? Some Jurassic Express. Keep calling them Lucha Express. You hate them, but I was so happy. I was like, man, this is how he should be featured. This is what makes it worth it. If this is what you came back to do in WWE pay, this is what it's going to be. So I'm excited for his Impact Wrestling run, because he never had an Impact Wrestling run. He had a TNA World run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even that wasn't all that great. If you want to keep it 100, you know, I don't think he ever held the TNA World title. You know, he was NWA, guy, and then once they changed the title, he never really got it back.
Oh, okay.
That's why you never seen no pictures of him holding the TNA World Championship. You know, it was Sting, Kurt Angle, and after that, Christian Cage was pushed to the back. AJ and Samoa Joe and stuff like that. But man, I'm rambling, but I can't, like, man, I was like, man, I saw him with that world title. I was like, yo, that's what it's about right there. That's the Christian Cage that I know, and wasn't his fault. I just was like, bro, I'm just not interested in your AEW run. It's just not interesting to me. Yeah. So, but in Impact, man, I'm like, man, he's gonna be the guy, and that's how I want to see Christian featured. So I'm mad that I'm like, man, for all that, I would have never thought or told him to sign back with TNA. Like, don't go back to no TNA. That doesn't make any sense. Which is why, why would you go back? But I'm like, now I'm just like, man, I kind of wish that he did, but like I always like the Good Brothers, because I know they're not signed in AEW. Like, they're on AEW television, but I know at the end of the day, they're Impact guys, and you guys can't change that. So, but yeah, so.
Oh man,
I could have been more happy for my guy. I'm glad to see him in that space again, man. So yeah.
Yes, it's well deserved. I missed it live, but when I saw that he won it, it was, like I said, it was definitely something I was happy about. And then I remember shout out to Brandon. He hit me, was like, dude, I just screamed. I was like, and I'm sitting there like, me and my wife at a comedy show, like, oh, I figured Christian probably won the title, because I know, like, both of y'all, like, Christian fans, and old school TNA total nonstop action fans, so that was cool. But yeah, let's get ready to take a quick break, and then when we come back, folks, it's time to talk. Is it still the biggest party of the summer, or is there another party that people?
Man, it's still the biggest party. So I don't care. No, what party's going on right now? What's hot?
Hey, I don't know, but here's a quick clip of our latest episode featuring the Hitman Bret Hart. So when they're establishing like these labels, he wasn't part of it. Two, he didn't name it himself, right? Sure. But we as the fans sit back, especially as Bret Hart fans, we think about it. It's like, well, you think about some of his moments, like, man, Bret was still in the shows. Yeah. Bret was establishing himself as a workhorse, a top guy, as a champion, a top guy, and a workhorse. Yeah, so I agree. We're going to go into the 5 iconic moments that established Bret Hart as Mr. SummerSlam. All right, so for the folks out there listening on the podcast, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because that is exclusive to YouTube. So 5 reasons why Bret Hart is Mr. SummerSlam. But let's get ready to talk about it. We're going to talk about the biggest party of the summer. Let's get ready. We're going to go right into these matches.
Wait, is this the SummerSlam pre-show we supposed to do the other day?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Perfect. We're on time. You can tell I don't produce. You can tell I don't produce the show.
He just show up, folks. He just show up.
I do. But, I just show up.
So, tag team championships, the SmackDown Live tag team championships on the line. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't know what's on the pre-show. I don't know what's on the main show.
It's about that. It's supposed to be a pre-show match.
It's all a regular show to me, because I'm watching it all, and that will this takes place this Sunday, 8:00 in Las Vegas. Shout out to everybody out there in Vegas. Y'all be safe. But we got the Usos taking on the Mysterios in a rematch that we saw at the last pay-per-view, whatever it was called. I like the Usos to retain. I don't see a reason why they should lose, but I wouldn't be surprised. This is Dominic's 1-year wrestling anniversary, I think. It was a year ago when he was in the ring, and I remember we all did a show, and you was like, Dominic Mysterio is really freaking good, but I don't see him winning the championship. I hope he don't ever turn on his dad. We don't need to see that. What do you think, the realness?
honestly, I don't know. This is fun. That's
Mhm.
that's to me. Like when I see this is the thrill of the chase,
Mhm.
and the use of Dominic Mysterio makes this interesting because you got 3 vets and then you got a rookie in the ring. You know what I mean? And the dynamic between this is the dad trying to teach his young boy the ropes. Like, oh man, you never know what can go wrong because they could lose, but you would understand why they lost because maybe Dominic slipped up, maybe Ray is older, so he's missing half. There's so many stories you can tell just by them being together, and I think it's a wonderful story to tell between dads and sons. Like we watched this kid be part of one of the most iconic and heart-wrenching storylines ever. God rest Eddie Guerrero's soul now, and that's why it's that much more iconic.
Mhm.
And to see his progression and see his dad like going after the Usos, an established tag team, they had to fight and climb to get back to this pinnacle themselves because at one point they were winning all the time and then they fell off. One got injured, and then one this whole family drama transpired, and now they're back at the top. And I'm like, man, can they stay there? Because they got all these distractions going on with the family stuff, but you also got Mysterios on your behind. So now you got to defend home base, you got to defend your own brand, and defend the family because that's what it's. The story is there. It's enough for me to watch it. It's interesting. It's fun. Like draw me in. I'm old, right? Pull me in. Let me have some fun. That's all I'm asking you to do. And this screams, oh, this is going to be fun. I like this. And then what they're going to do inside the ring is going to speak. It's going to speak for itself. Like that's going to be another fun aspect of just the match itself, man. I'm looking forward to it. Do I see the Usos retaining? Honestly, I don't know because I don't watch as much. So it's like, man, I can't tell what direction they're going in. But I know for one thing, the Mysterios are mad they lost to the Usos and they hot on their trails, and I'm excited for it. I don't care if it's on the pre-show or not, because we've seen matches show up on the pre-show that end up being a part of a larger storyline going down the line. Like, oh shoot, they lost, or like the last time the Usos beat Dominic Mysterio and they tried to cheat, and guess who came out to stop them? They were like, nah, we still got enough in this business because y'all just cheated to win this match and we still on y'all tails. So I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. Who wins? I don't know, and that's the best part about it.
Yeah, talk about it, man. Oh man. Hold on real quick. Let me. We gotta do this real quick. This just in. Well, actually, it was 4 hours ago. But because we was talking about AEW, also because somebody just tagged me in this. Your favorite guy, the Con Man, Tony Khan, says, I'm betting that excitement from the most anticipated announcement in AEW history at AEW Rampage. The first dance will build up through All Out. We'll make new fans. Plus, will welcome dormant wrestling households worldwide back into the fold. A new era of AEW begins tomorrow.
I got somebody sent me this in a text message, probably about an hour before we got on the show.
Because of course somebody just tagged me with the eyeball. Shout out to opinionated _MJ. Like Brian H. Waters, you see this?
Brandon B guy sent me this text message like, look, there you gotta go again. And I said, this is exactly what I'm talking about. And y'all look at me like I'm crazy because you're making these statements trying to get clickbait. And I'm like, bro, if you don't deliver, how am I supposed to respond to you? Right? You talking about changing the game and being elaborate and bringing this, that, and the third. I'm like, bro, what am I supposed to do if you come up that this don't change the game? Like, you really think first of all, we had this whole conversation. You're not going to bring dormant wrestling fans back with AEW. You're just not going to. Because wrestling fans didn't stop watching wrestling because of the wrestlers or of the wrestling. You know what I mean? Fans start watching because their favorites have moved on because it's not the same anymore.
First thing everybody say, we're back with Austin and Rock.
That has nothing to do with the wrestling because the wrestling fans that love wrestling are still watching like us. We adjusted with the time. So what you gonna do? Is Stone Cold Steve Austin gonna come out on AEW? And if he does, he's 50 years old. Like, what are you saying? Like, we've seen everything. We've seen everything. The dirt sheets have spilled the beans and a lot of different things. Like, you're making these promises and like maybe you think it's cool for clickbait, or maybe you have the attitude, well, all publicity is good publicity. Doesn't matter what it is, good, bad, or indifferent. Okay. Look, I'm probably not going to watch until unless it's worth watching. But okay, there you go again, Tony Khan. So if you don't deliver, I personally shall roast you until you pay me not to.
Yeah. It's very seldom I get those tiny tweets, but I was like, why not? We can read this on air. We got the ability to. Let's go right into it. United States Championship on the line. Damien Priest challenging Sheamus, fella. The realness. You talked up Damien Priest earlier on this episode. I like him. I don't know if it's his time yet. What do you think?
I think it's definitely his time.
Okay.
I think he needs that United States Championship rub. You know what I mean?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
There's more than one reason why we see guys on TV, right? And there's more than one way to put guys on TV and make them important. Damien Priest is a guy that's showing like, yo, he can be it. Not like top guy, but he's an established player. You know what I mean? Not saying top guy right now, but he's an established player. Sheamus is a grizzled vet and has done next to nothing with the United States Championship. But once again, he's one of them guys where he doesn't have to. He's a top guy. When a top guy holds a mid-card title, it doesn't lose its value because it's on the top guy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We saw this thing.
Sure. You know what I mean? Like if you put that on Apollo Crews, it's like, oh, this is a waste. Nobody cares about United States Championship. When you had him on Andrade, he did nothing but put good wrestling matches on, okay? You're not going to say that when it comes to Sheamus. You're not going to say that it lost its prestige because that's a former world champion that's carrying that United States title for a long period of time. You got a guy like Damien Priest that comes in, I'm like, yo, he's up next. He's a young guy. He doesn't really have a reason to be on TV right now. This is the perfect place to put him in. Well, why do you want to see him? Why are we booking him? Because this guy decides that he's tired of the old guy holding on to a prestigious title that he is yet to conquer. You know? So I'm like, yo, he's going to catch Sheamus slipping. And then that's going to be a beautiful feud because Sheamus is not going to go out to fight. One thing Sheamus does is fight. And you look at who Sheamus is now, the development of his character, he dresses that way because he looks like an old grandpa. He's a grizzled Irish vet. And I like it. I'm like, bro, because he looks like he's all business. You know what I mean? He's got the beater on and the suspenders and the hat. I'm like, yo, he looks like an Irish brawler. If you look at Irish history, you know, and you look at a lot of football fans from around the world, he looks like the prototypical bar hopping, brawling, Irish tough guy. You know what I mean? And I like it because that's kind of who he is at this point in his career. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you like it. You
I do. I like it. I think Damien Priest catches him slipping. Like I don't think he's going to dominate Sheamus, but he's going to catch. He's going to because Sheamus has been weaseling a little bit.
Yeah, that's
talking about his face, and he's trying to hold on. It's like, bro, I think Sheamus is like, yeah, look, I'm older now. You know what I mean? I'm not as sharp, but I'm wiser. So I'm using my wisdom to kind of to hold on to something.
I'm wiser. I'm stronger.
Keep on singing with your shirt and tie on, like you ready to pull out a tambourine.
No.
And look. Yep. You're gonna catch the Holy Ghost. If I catch the Holy Ghost, if I catch the Holy Ghost because you're hitting that tambourine with that tie, I might pass up. Let me see if I can find $1, put in the collection plate.
All right. Oh man. All right, let's move on. We talk about catching people out of nowhere.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
RK Bro taking on AJ and Omos. You know, I ain't gonna lie. Y'all, I said maybe they could hold the titles. Y'all said they wouldn't hold the titles this long. Now you could wonder, okay, pandemic, all these injuries, whatever reason, they still got the titles. I see RK Bro winning. And it was two things that can happen.
Yeah.
Like it's like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking they lose because Randy gets irritated. But now it's like, well, he gave him that hug. So now this got to continue for a little bit and they got to win the titles. And then when that turn comes, it shoots Riddle to the top.
Yeah, because it's a wrestling staple. Some things go out of style, but some things don't. And the odd couple is a story that will never go out of style in professional wrestling. They had we just finished it off with Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. They fought, but they realized we're kind of winning a lot. So as much as we don't get along, we got to figure it out because we're still winning. Like we're champions because of each other. This is the same thing. Like Randy was like, look, I don't know, Keith, you owed you, and I caused it, but guess what? You had my back. I respect you. And everybody says the same thing about Riddle. Like, yo, he just gets it. And they're like, man, he gets it. What that means is he don't got to be the next Daniel Bryan or CM Punk. No, he understands sports entertainment. He understands ring psychology. Not to mention he's as athletic as all get out. He's got such a silly gimmick. He's this airhead gimmick, the surfer dude gimmick, but he's the best one I've ever seen do it so naturally. You know what I mean? He's like this is the skater, surfer, stoner guy all in one that can wrestle his tail off. This is a guy that came from mixed martial arts, and I was like, man, this is a guy that they compare him to Kurt Angle, as in how fast somebody quicks up the psychology of pro wrestling. You know what I mean? Coming from from a combat sport. And I'm like, man, John Cena said the same, like, nah, this kid gets it. Like, it's weird, it's awkward. And it's like, and Vince loved him. And I'm like, yeah, because you're talking about all guys that understand what it takes to make money. And this tag team match is like, okay, you can tell this story where you have the top guy in the heater, as they call it. You know, that's your Shawn Michaels and your Diesel. You know, and that's how they've been winning. You got the grizzled vet in AJ Styles that's taking care of business, and then you got the heater that comes in and just does all the muscle work. And AJ Styles is trying to keep this guy cool, calm, and composed, and keep him from being a monster. It's the same story we've seen 1,000 times. It's two old wrestling themes that don't go out of style. The top guy with the heater, your bodyguard, and the odd couple, and you bring it together for a tag match. And first of all, you got all vets in the ring. You got Randy Orton, AJ Styles, and then you got the athleticism of Riddle, what he can do, and then you have this big monster. You have so many elements. This is a pure WWE match at SummerSlam. I'm like, man, this is going to be huge, because people in the Randy Orton has found a way to get RK Bro over. That's why he wanted to work with Riddle. Like, he figured it out. He's like, okay, I kind of get it. They took us on this whole story going into the situation. And that was the build up to the SummerSlam match. Everybody can't do that. That's how great Randy Orton really is. And I was like, bro, that's tough. I said, this is going to be fun to watch. Like, that's all it has to be. It's not meant to be, you know, the Dudleys versus Edge and Christian, you know, at SummerSlam in the ladder match for the tag titles. This is going to move the needle along as they develop Riddle, as they develop Omos, as AJ Styles continues to be AJ Styles, and as Randy Orton continues to be Randy Orton. They're relevant. They're working with two young guys, and once again, we're still in brand building mode. We're still in star making mode. So
those two always find a way to work with each other. Styles and Omos.
Yeah,
I mean Styles and Randy Orton.
Randy Orton. Yeah,
they always, they always find a way to work together. It's fun, This is a match I'm looking forward to because I actually get to see this guy in a prime spot, that being Jinder Mahal taking on his former 3MB buddy Drew McIntyre. This is a matchup between two former WWE champions, and it's history there. Obviously, I guess you call it love lost. But how excited are you for this match?
Loved it. Old school matchup. Two big behemoths. This is to me, it's the same thing as Drew and Bobby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jinder needs this because to me,
most definitely,
Jinder to me is a top guy. There's no way where he can look like that and not be a top guy. You know what I mean? He has an imposing, menacing demeanor about himself. He may not be the best in-ring guy, but he doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? Because he just has the look. Like, he has the look. He has the size. He can speak. He's got two heaters. He's got a young tag team with him. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, who doesn't want to see these guys that were once, in this group that was meant to make people laugh, that they kind of got out of pocket. They both have come back, increased their looks, their physiques, their characters,
and their net worth.
Absolutely, and now they're both former WWE champions. This is an old fashioned. You about to pass collection plate? You fixing your tie? Okay.
I just saw it awkward.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well.
So I'm looking forward to it. I like it a lot. Like I can't wait. I can't wait for them to get into it. I hope it delivers. Not really sure yet. But I think Drew and Jinder can tell a really good story because it almost sells itself. Like I said, two guys that were cut but came back to become WWE champions. So
I just need to see them to beat the smack out of each other, and I'm good.
That's what that's supposed to be, though. Like, it's not supposed to be it's not supposed to be a technical matchup. It's supposed to be a fight. You know what I mean? On the same level as Bobby and Drew, the same level as Sheamus and Drew. Like, this isn't a technical matchup we need to see. We need to see a fight.
And this is the thing, right? When you look at SummerSlam and WrestleMania, all the matches on the card supposed to mean something, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to see as much as like on video games. I always do every match for a title.
Right. Yeah.
I like to see those matches that don't have a title on the line, but it's like a legitimate
Implication.
issue.
To it. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so that's what I'm definitely looking forward to seeing. I'm really interested in this one right here. Why is this? Oh, yeah, I'm really interested in this one right here. I guess we call her Alexa Bliss, taking on Eva Marie with Dewdrop in the background. Obviously, I don't see Eva Marie wrestling. I see her doing something to try to weasel her way out of this, and you know, Dewdrop getting in there, but I just don't.
But that's her gimmick though. You know what I mean? It works. Like, don't get me wrong. It don't like it's you know,
It's hilarious.
it works. I think she does it well. Like, she finds a way not to get physically involved every week, and it annoys the heck out of people. And I think that's what they're doing. Like, man, she like we there's not what's the top female heel in the business right now? You got Britt Baker, right? Who's the next one up?
Sure.
You know, or you know, Charlotte, maybe. You know,
I would say Charlotte.
Sasha, right?
Sasha, not yet, but she probably will be.
I named three heels in all professional. How many women's wrestlers are out there right now?
That's true.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, and how many women's wrestlers on national TV that's doing that you can say, oh, she's the top heel in the company. You know what I mean? So
especially since Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax aren't champs no more.
She's and they started to get over. You know what I mean? She's in an interesting space, Alexa Bliss, because they have to figure out where we're going to go with this, because she was attached to this supernatural character where there were no rules in Bray Wyatt. You know what I mean? And until they can kind of buy time until he gets back, because there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be back. They got to keep that gimmick alive in some way, shape, or form. But you can't do that, honestly, in a pure wrestling match. So why would you put her in a match with somebody that's going to make her look bad, or that's going to take away from what the character is really there to do? It's there to do all the Addams Family stuff, the spooks and the goobs and goblins and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's what she's there to do. That's what she's known for. Like, she pulled it off in the women's Money in the Bank match. You know what I mean? With all the subtleties that she did and things like that. That's and then of course the relationship between Eva Marie and, you know, and her heater, which is interesting because it's like, man, that's such an odd couple, but it makes sense. It looks like the pretty girl and then the awkward best friend, but then she's the one that's getting around all the trouble, but she's also the one that gets blamed for everything. And I'm like, man, you get to see a different range of character from the women versus just, oh, well, you have the title, I want the title. Like, and this is what I'm seeing in this match.
This is what you've been asking for, though.
No, I mean, it's entertaining because I'm not gonna consider myself a wrestling diehard because I'm not watching wrestling all day because I like it. You know what I mean? At this point, I'm like, man, I've seen a lot of it. I don't have to accept a lot of it. So now you have to entertain me. Give me something different to watch. Like, I'm there to watch a show. I don't need that to be like, oh, that's dumb because they didn't give them 80 minutes and they could have put on a fight. I'm not watching. They'll have their chance for that any other time, but that's not what this is about. It's a SummerSlam. You know what I mean? You're probably not gonna get a lot of time. You know, but this is your chance to showcase what you do well. Maximize the time that you're given and contribute to the show. and that's all I'm expecting from this match. But I'm looking forward to seeing what Alexa Bliss does next as we kind of try to figure out what's going on with Bray Wyatt.
Yeah. I think Alexa Bliss wins this one, no doubt about it. I didn't even give my prediction. Drew, obviously, I'm picking him over Jinder, but I think Alexa Bliss wins this one. And I think it's I think, like you said, I think there's going to be some sort of dissemination between Eva Marie and Dewdrop, and we'll see the fans really cater to Dewdrop. You know,
I think it's too early.
It should be, but this is SummerSlam, so it's like, and you know, things sort of happen quicker with the ladies. But I understand it does feel too early, but I just feel like it's stuff like this happens a little quicker. But we'll see.
Here's my problem with Dewdrop. If you pick them up now, I promise you won't see her for another 2 years. She might get cut. That's the stuff I don't like. Like,
I don't either, but I don't.
But with her being her lackey and her heater, that's a story you can tell every week.
It is.
That's why guys like Reginald. That's why guys like R-Truth. That's why guys like Akira Tozawa they never really cut because that's a story you can tell every week.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you say, well, why don't you cut those guys? Like, yeah, because they're like, look, they have to tell stories.
They're funny.
They're right. It's entertainment. They're not in the wrestling space. They've been there, done that before. Like it's an evolution to the product.
You brought up R-Truth. I just thought of something.
Mm-hmm.
When he wins that 100th 24/7 title, you know he's gonna do the Will Chamberlain, right?
Oh yeah, it's kind of like they're probably already writing ways of how we can come up with different ideas.
Because I thought about that because All the Smoke just hit 100 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a picture of Steven Jackson doing that. I was like, R-Truth is going to do that. I feel like he is, and if he wasn't, it's two reasons. There's no black person writing, or that he's not a basketball fan. But I was like, man, or they just skip over. He went 100, then 102, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought about that. Yeah, moving on in the card, man. This match right here, this one right here. Before I flash the graphic for those watching on YouTube, this right here is the match that I think, if I know you well,
mm-hmm.
that you don't want nobody talking to you because you want to be fully ingrained in this one.
Uh-oh.
And that's Seth Rollins and Edge.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a good
one. Man, the long-term storytelling that's kind of went with this, because if I'm not mistaken,
this is going to be a barn burner. Edge has come back to work with the young guys.
Yeah, and this is the guy. Like, yeah, we got Edge and Orton, sure, Edge and Reigns, but this is the one. Dare say, if Seth Rollins, and this is me speaking from my opinion and thoughts, if Seth Rollins was on 2015 Seth Rollins, this would be the main event. I've been very vocal that he hasn't, as good as he's been and as great as things he's done, it's still, to me, he's never reached that pinnacle, right?
He never got back,
Yeah, that pinnacle, I had put him in the pinnacles with your Austin, Brett, your Shawns of WWE, you know what I mean? And to me, he hasn't gotten back there yet. Like, Roman has surpassed what Roman has ever been, right?
Yeah, no doubt,
And to me, if this was SummerSlam 2015, he wouldn't be facing John Cena. He would be facing Edge in the main event.
No doubt.
If Brock and Undertaker wasn't there.
No doubt. I think everything you said is 100% true. I think the thing is, I think because he has not got back to that place, his character range has gone far beyond what I ever thought it was going to go.
Yeah,
he's starting to be like Chris Jericho. He's starting to find ways to reinvent who he is, because he went from being Seth Rollins, Shield guy, to the Architect, to the top guy, and leaves, comes back, and then he was most recently this Wrestling Messiah, which was completely different. Now he's this kind of this arrogant, entitled guy that comes out in these expensive, elaborate looking suits. Like, I don't even know what you call it, right? But it's this is going to be a run of Seth Rollins, the suit run. You can just call it that for now. Like, this is his suit run. Fresh off of being the Wrestling Messiah, and now he's like, oh, there's this. He's trying to get the chase. You know what I mean? And he just completely disrupted Edge. Like we're all waiting for Edge to have that moment. And it's like he just keeps getting derailed. It's just like, man, because in our minds, we're like, oh, it's no doubt Edge is going to get this because it's Edge. But now, like, there's all these wrinkles in the story that's making it more and more complicated. So it's like, oh, now we got to wait again. And now you, in the back of your mind, you're saying, well, shoot, who's to say that Edge is going to get back to that place because he's old? Although he can wrestle until his hair goes gray. But yeah, this is going to be a good one. I was like, yeah, man, you're seeing Edge work with all the guys that kind of stepped up, when him and CM Punk's generate. Like, it was Edge, he left, and CM Punk kind of emerged, and Christian and Randy Orton and John Cena and stuff like that. And then when they were kind of started to fizzle out, then you had the Reigns, the Shield guys. We had Ambrose and Reigns and Rollins and Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan got taken out. It's like, man, you're seeing the guys that carried the torch while all those guys went down, back in this.
You muted. There you go. Yeah. You see Seth Rollins, And Edge right now, this is definitely something that I think when you'll see a show stealer.
Yeah.
You know, like you called it a barn burner. It's the match when the wrestling fans sit back, because you know these two, they're gonna watch everything that happened on Friday night, and they either they probably laugh at it, or they'll say, okay, that's cute. Whatever happens, even if it's Punk and Daniel Bryan, and for goodness sakes, Brock Lesnar, all
Mhm.
three of them show up, they're gonna say, all right, that's cool. Watch what we do. And they're gonna say, because Seth Rollins, he puts the company on his back and says WWE is the best place in the world. It's the only place you should want to be at. And they're gonna go out there and prove that.
Yeah, no doubt. It's they're gonna steal the weekend, because it's like, man, it's tough. It's tough to match up that kind of like I've never seen Reigns have a better match than him and Edge.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, God dang, Edge is that good? Like, we forgot. like if you didn't think Edge was Edge, that night I was like, yo, even his gear was just all red. I was like, oh, he looks very vintage Edge right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, they told a story. And I was like, man, Reigns really stepped his game up, man. He's hands and feet above what he used to look. He was all the stuff that I was complaining about him not doing before, he's doing now, like on a thousand. And Seth Rollins, man, everything, he's the same thing, just the way the match played out. He came out, then he came back. I was like, man, it made sense. It was organic, and it happened so fast. You ain't had to be like, oh, I saw that coming. You're like, man, I was too busy trying to catch it. And I'm like, man, I think that's just mentally where Seth Rollins is and mentally where Edge is. They're gonna want to go there. And I'm like, man, this could be another classic. Like if Dean Ambrose was still in the WWE, I think he might have been next, even though their styles might not go together. But when you look at the major players of WWE, to me, AJ's got to be somewhere in that conversation at some point.
Absolutely.
To say, nope, it's my turn. I get my crack at Edge. But yeah, this should be a good one. I hope it's not disappointing, because we have plenty of matches that we thought that were going to be good and it turned out to be well.
I mean, you look, last year they told us Edge and Randy Orton was going to have the greatest wrestling match ever, and then AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan went on and put on a clinic that Friday night. But then Edge and Randy Orton went out there and did their thing. Their best match between them two. You can make an argument for it was the best match of the year. You could throw it in a conversation, I should say. But I mean, I think they're gonna go out there and do that thing. Man, yeah, this is good. This is gonna be good. Let's move on. We got the ladies. Let's start off with the Raw Women's Championship, as Rhea Ripley tries to get her gold back that she ended up losing to Charlotte, who then got cashed in on the next night, and almost a superhero, Nikki Ash, would take the title. I see Nikki winning this one. I think it's going to be great. She's gonna go out there. It's gonna come close, but I think the almost superhero becomes a superhero this Saturday night in Las Vegas.
Yeah, first of all, she's probably one of the best wrestlers in the world in Nikki Cross, and there's a reason why she lasted longer than everybody else in Sanity, because nobody else is a part of the group anymore. Everyone's gone, including her husband. And Killian Danes, I think he was the last one, to stay around before he got, caught the axe. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte, that rub is different because Charlotte did it for Rhea. Rhea's up there now, still there. You know what I mean? Top girl. They're bringing Nikki Cross in that conversation too. Like, you got to create these new, because Charlotte is going to keep running out of girls to work with. Like, Charlotte's working Rhea Ripley. She's ready to work with Nikki Cross. Like, she's got all these new, fresh matchups that make sense. Right. Not just random matchups like, okay, well, this Tegan Knox pops up and now it's like, it makes sense. You have Sasha dealing with Bianca Belair. You know what I mean? These are when the 4 horsewomen and the and then the 5 superstars, because I include Asuka in that conversation. As far as in-ring working girls, because Alexa Bliss is done what she's done, but she's going on to something different now. And Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, stuff like that. It's they got to keep creating these new main event players, and I think that's what they're doing. Like, she can carry it. and it's the superhero gimmick that has gotten over 1,000 times. It's one thing that it's another one of those old wrestling attitudes. That'll never get old.
Yeah.
You can do that everywhere. You know what I mean? And now we're seeing it. You know, and everybody was critical about the whole character change until, you know, one Hurricane said something first, was like, yo, don't, like, listen, y'all can laugh at her now, but people laughed at me too. Like, it was supposed to be a joke, but it became, you know, I became a worldwide phenomenon because of that, you know. And she's like, oh yeah, this is my idea. So everybody's like, okay, well, this is something you wanted to do. Like, okay, then.
All means.
Yeah, and I think if anybody can pull it off, it's her, because this is, like you said, you know, her interaction with kids. She wants to stay where she needs to stay. She's like, yo, I got to do something to get over, and it's working. Like I said, we saw it with Molly Holly. She had a run that she had. She, you know, when she left being a superhero gimmick, she became what she became. But, you know, she'll always be known as superhero Molly Holly, like that, you know, and it was meant to be a joke. You know what I mean? Like, her run with the Hurricane is what's going to, you know, is what she's known for commercially, at least. You know what I mean? God bless her career. And then now Nikki Ash, almost a superhero, has that same opportunity. She always could go toe to toe with the big dogs. That ain't never been an issue.
Right.
Now she has a reason to be there. And I think, like I said, I win over Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. You know what I mean? Because it's easy to book, because Rhea Ripley and Charlotte are going to get so distracted with each other that, you know, once again, Nick is going to catch one of them slipping, and boom. I'm looking forward to it.
Because they don't like each other, you know, and they still got issues. So, like you said, it's just going to, like, God dang it, Charlotte, or God dang it, Rhea. That's what it's going to come down to. Yeah, so I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to this one. I think that, you know, it'll be one of those fun matches. I wouldn't actually be surprised if this is one that actually opens up the show, you know, just to kind of get that crowd going. Let's move on. Sticking with the ladies, this was the main event of night 1 at WrestleMania, and now the rematch is on. I think we kind of, you know, you kind of penciled it in, just knowing how wrestling works. With when you have like those big iconic storylines, borrowing somebody's gone to do a movie or something. You know, I believe we may have seen this with like Cena and Batista. I could be off, but you know, it's the rematch. Bianca Belair taking on Sasha Banks, SmackDown Women's Championship on the line. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Sasha gets the belt back.
I do too.
I think
I do too. I think, you know, it's always about that first quick run, and then now you got to chase.
That's what I was going to say. You know, there's some people that's complaining about Bianca's run. I have no complaints about
What's wrong with it? Like, what are you complaining about?
Oh, she's lackluster. She's not as over. We're coming out of a pandemic.
That's not her fault. Women's wrestling isn't hot right now. Like, you're gonna have to accept it.
It's one of those things, though. You know, there's the value in the chase, but 2, her chase wasn't in front of fans, right? So we saw her with the belt, but it was no desire to see her overcome adversity in front of the fans.
I got no problem with it, because to me, she's being booked the same way Bobby Lashley. Like, listen, you got to build her. This is the part of the building. Your first run is always going to be lackluster sometimes. Like, Sheamus' first run was like, he was one of the most. I was like, yeah. I said,
you always bring Sheamus up in those conversations,
because I remember complaining about him the most when he beat John Cena, fell through that table. I was like, wait, it didn't look right. I was like, man, this doesn't got. But look at him now; he's top guy. But you gotta get that out the way. Like, that first one is always awkward. Edge didn't have it that long. And remember, you said when they took the belt, he's like, I wasn't happy about it. Look at him, top guy. Who's another guy had an awkward first run? What's his name? Jericho. When Jericho had the undisputed titles, it was an awkward run. I was like, he don't look like a top guy, but look at him now. He's a walking Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Like, that, you got to get that first run out the way sometimes. You know what I mean? It's
like, I think with this too, this is you know, to go from WrestleMania to SummerSlam, I think that's respectable. Considering, you know, the build up, and this is a good opportunity. You know, one, Sasha will get a huge pay-per-view win. I believe she did win one of them at a SummerSlam, but you know, she'll get that big pay-per-view win. She'll also just kind of add some more to her character. You know, walking around being the boss, you know, because like you said, you know, Sasha with the belt is, you know, something, but she kind of like, you know, it seems like she's going heel with these with Carmella and Zelina Vega, which I can appreciate them being on television.
Mhm.
But one of the things I do like about this is, yeah, get the stuff out of the way. Y'all had to respect the first time, rightfully so. That's what it was supposed to be. Now we're gonna get like a real, like, I don't like you, you don't like me story, and that's what I'm looking forward to. We got that with Sasha and Bailey last year after SummerSlam. Well, more so going into Hell in a Cell. As we get ready to go into the wintertime and go into football season, it's going to be those compelling stories that you want to see, and I think this is going to be one of them.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's really right there. And I was like, oh yeah, because Bianca has been very composed and very professional, but I think she's going to lose it. Like she's like, okay, all right, I was trying to go about this the correct way, but now, nah, gloves off. I lost my title. I don't care.
Bingo.
Like now it's on, and I think we'll see her go to a different level. Like we'll see a different, edgier side of her. This, and I think Sasha's going to bring that out of her, which is great. What she needs. I think it's going to be dope. So
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this one. Now it's time for the big dogs. Let's go into this one right here. WWE Championship on the line. Bobby Lashley with MVP by his side, taking on Goldberg. Man, oh man, I'm not gonna lie to you. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a squash match. I know it's Goldberg. I know he's this big guy, but I wouldn't be surprised if he do exactly what he did to Kofi Kingston to establish himself as a legend.
do you think has Goldberg has he in the books as a WWE champion?
No, that was the
He's
thing
not.
about Drew. We
He's
thought,
not.
was wondering if he would beat Drew at Royal
Yeah.
Rumble.
I'm starting to think that I'm waiting for somebody to pull the this is one of those another age-old additive for professional wrestling themes of the give the legend the rub just for record book sakes, and then the rematch clause on that Monday, and then I thought it was gonna happen with Sting and Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins tried to kill him.
Tell me about it.
The bastard. I was like, I see Sting beating Seth Rollins, and then like Rollins like, nope, you cheated. I didn't even care if it was a roll up. He ain't got to dominate him. I want him to roll him up, pose with the belt for a night, get all your pictures in, history books, and then Monday Seth Rollins revokes his rematch clause, and then he just beats Sting. That's what I wanted to happen, but Seth Rollins tried to kill him.
Mhm.
Do we see that with Goldberg? It's possible because he's still Goldberg.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like and honestly, I don't mind stuff like that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because then Bobby Lashley starts round 2. You know what I mean? And he picks up where he leaves off. I don't know, man. I get nervous about Goldberg because Goldberg can hype you up to get in the ring, but then sometimes he doesn't always deliver in ring because he's older and his timing is off. Like for instance, I think he's overzealous in his wanting to perform. Like the reason his match with Undertaker was bad because he knocked himself out because he went for that spear, and instead of taking the hit to the pole, he rammed his head right into the guardrail and he busted himself because he was concussed the whole match. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it was sloppy and it was dangerous. He almost killed Undertaker. And I was like, man, that match could have been better than what it was. And then you say, well, was it Goldberg just being bad or just Goldberg just slipping, missing his cues because he's older? He doesn't wrestle full time, so it's difficult. Triple H always says it's difficult to not wrestle at all and then try to wrestle one match and then not do nothing for a long time. It's difficult. So I'm curious to see what version of Goldberg we get. As long as he doesn't do too much. Man, I don't know. I'm curious.
I think though, like I said, because it's always the whoever goes down goes up on Sunday, right? Or Saturday. So I'm always looking at that. I'm programmed to think that. Then I'm like, okay, this time it's gonna be the clause. And sometimes this is a clause in that, right? But I really think just looking at Bobby Lashley, he just like on a different level. And I think this is that match right here where he just established his legacy. But it is intriguing if he was to lose the championship and then get it back the next day. It would be something to be mad about, but it would definitely be something to make you tune in to Raw. Let's be real. You know,
If Bobby Lashley uses that title to Goldberg, you can best believe it's going to be a billion eyes on Raw the next day.
mm-hmm.
Because we got to figure out, or Sunday, or Saturday, or Monday, excuse me. You like hold the phone. What just happened? And I got to figure out where this is going to go. Because first of all, he's saying clearly at some point Bobby Lashley's going. Here's what the smart marks are going to do. Well, one, you know Goldberg's not going to have his belt for a long time because he's a part-time guy. He fights per day. Then you say, well, shoot, Goldberg. I'm sure he's probably like, look, man, I'm not about to keep losing too many more matches, in a row. And then you say to yourself, okay, so if Goldberg does win, well, who's next? Is Bobby, and when are they going to fight again? Because we know Goldberg's not going to be around forever. It's this when you have to ask questions, you have a reason to bring me to the table. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't be surprised because Goldberg, the legend, the character, the legacy. I don't know what you call it, but like the what makes Goldberg is still there.
Yep.
It's still believe. Like I'm like, yo, I don't know. Goldberg might beat Brock Lesnar. I mean, like might beat Bobby Lashley. Excuse me. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's not like it's unbelievable. Because I'm like, look at him. Like they might let this guy beat him. So this is I want to say Bobby Lashley beats Goldberg, sure, but I'm like, wait a minute, how many? Goldberg don't take a whole lot of losses too well. So I don't know. He's talking about impressing his son and stuff like that. He might say, look, man, I did the job last time. Now I need to win for my son. I'll drop it whenever you want me to, but I don't know.
Does he have that much equity in WWE?
Absolutely, big time.
Okay,
he's huge. Like I said, I got a 7-year-old that's like looking for Goldberg. How is he looking for Goldberg?
I meant pulling backstage like with Vince.
It's Goldberg. Think about it. Look at this. You know that because of the spot that he's in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you know what I mean, like when he comes back when he works select dates, they pay him per date, and when he come back, he's a main attraction.
Yeah.
He goes right to the front of the line. He comes out and says, "I'm next," because he's been doing it for 20 years and it still works. Yeah. But he's in such good shape. He looks like Goldberg. He still can perform like Goldberg. It's always lackluster to the book, but he looks the part. He sells it enough to be like, yo, they restored the legend of Goldberg so they can still use it. And like I said, he's in the same spot Brock Lesnar used to be. He comes back, he's big, he's dominant, he's still the guy. So he comes back whenever he wants to, big badass. That's he comes back whenever he, that same thing Undertaker was at one point. He comes back, he goes to the front of the line, and no one's going to tell him otherwise because of who the character really is. Yeah. Who's going to say Goldberg? No one's going to cut a promo and say, Goldberg, you got to get back in line. No, because the legend of Goldberg stands on his own. Like, this dude beats everybody. Brock Lesnar did the same thing. He shows up. It was Suplex City. When he says, I'm next in line, there was no conversation about it. See, Edge can come back and talk that stuff. And Seth Rollins is like, nah, that's dead. No one's going to do that to the legend of Goldberg or the legend of Brock Lesnar. Like that, why wouldn't he have that kind of equity? Because there's no way in the world they bringing him back at his age and he can't perform that well if it didn't bring value and money to the company at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a box office draw. Goldberg is in a WWE Championship match in 2021. And they're not forcing it because I'm sitting there watching. Like, no, I watch Raw. Like, I was like, I turned to it just in turn. I was like, man, his music hit, and people still went up. I said, how do they know about Goldberg? These are children.
Yeah,
I don't want to hit a network, but he saw Goldberg one time on a commercial. He saw on the commercial, and he saw a couple times on Raw. He ain't like he knows nothing about what Goldberg looked like when he had trunks and all that kind of stuff. But that I'm like, bro, whatever he's doing, it's working. It still works because the kid, he knows who the heck Goldberg is. Because guess what he want now? The Goldberg action figure. He want to see Goldberg versus. That's a big time match to him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He wanted to see Goldberg versus Drew Baker. He wanted to see Goldberg versus not Goldberg versus
Dolph Ziggler a couple years ago.
Yeah, no. That's a big time match to him. He associated, oh shoot, this is a big deal. And it's like, how do you know that? Because that's just the power and the legend of what Goldberg still is, whether you like it or not. Agree with it. We saw him at his best, and that wasn't all that great. But it was what he did is he added to the conflict of professional wrestling, the work of what we enjoy, but the reality of what really makes this business and how it makes money. That's why Hogan worked 40 years. That's why Warrior worked as long as he worked. That's why Undertaker still can be the. That's why Sting can still be Sting, because the things that we know and love about them, they can still do it as long as they make it look the same.
Yeah,
Sting's mystique. He's making money off who Sting is, not because of his matches, because he's in a title, not because he's just Sting. So when he's in a rap with Darby Allin, you're like, yo, that's Sting. Because I remember when he did that 20-something years ago. That's just what he does. And it works. Goldberg is in that conversation.
Yeah. Well, it'll certainly be interesting. I'm gonna stick with Bobby Lashley winning though.
I'm conflicted. I don't know.
Yeah, Saturday night, folks. And now it's time for the main event, the Universal Championship. Now we talking about titles people didn't have. John Cena never held the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns is the guy. Now we supposed to believe that John Cena is going to come in here, do the job, whatever, and then go back to Hollywood. But then again, it's John Cena. We're talking he could become 17 times. They're putting out graphics. Most title reigns, right? I'm going with the Tribal Chief. I'm never going against the Tribal Chief as long as he's the Tribal Chief. Are you conflicted on this one?
No, I'm not going against John Cena because John Cena is John Cena.
Well, realness. With all due respect, you saw what that got you in 2012, right?
It's 2021.
9 years later, I mean, you cut a promo on Team Bring It, bro.
Right. That's when I joined the C Nation at the time. I was like, here's what I'm saying, yo. Like, I just saw John Cena in another commercial for a movie on Hulu with Lil Leroy. What's his name? What's
You asking me, bro? You closer to the.
What's the dude that's his name's something? The short black guy with the glasses.
He's somebody in the comments right now.
I want to say like Lil Ray, but it's not. I don't know. He remember she had a show. What is that guy's name? Lil Rel. I said Lil Leroy.
Leroy, like of all names though. Leroy,
yeah. Lil Rel Howley, whatever his name is. He's playing a crazy couple vacation movie. And I'm like, John Cena's everywhere. He's in TVs, he's in fast, whatever number they're on now. He's on commercials. I'm like, he's everywhere. This guy wins 71. It makes sense because they were sticking to Ric Flair for asking for his release. So it's like, oh yeah, he's going to hit 17 times. And one, you can't go wrong because the TV network like, man, well, shoot, we love Reigns, but god dang it, you got John Cena on my TV. That's what made us money in the first place. You know what I mean? John Cena with that blue belt is going to, first of all, the belt's going to sell out again. Not that it's not selling out now, but he just has that effect on people sometimes. Well, I'm gonna go, like, for instance, I want to go out and get the Impact World title simply because I saw it wrapped around Christian's waist. I said, yo, that's okay, that's legit. I got to get in that out of celebration for Christian.
Right.
That blue Universal title is gonna fly. Like, I was never a fan of it. I was like, they could have stuck the red, but Reigns has made that his title. Like, he's gonna be known for that title going forward. Like, when you think that blue title, you're gonna think, who do you think about the most? It's gonna be Reigns. It will make sense for John Cena to walk around with that strap around his waist because he's the merchandise king. He's gonna start the show, end the show, and then the story you can tell about Thanos finally showing his vulnerability. Man, I'm like, man, are we gonna see Reigns unravel? Because he's arrogant, he walks around, he's the guy, and then to get beat by the Golden Boy. Whew. He's going to be out for blood. You know what I mean? That's just potentially if Cena wins, you know? And because once Cena gets that title, there's no guarantee of when he's coming off that title because in our minds, we know too much. That's John Cena. That's the Golden Boy. He might have another 10-year reign like Bruno. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are going to be pissed like, wow, they're taking up the Tribal Chief. And everybody's like, bro, that's what they're trying to do is get you riled up. You know what I mean? And it's going to be conflicted because the feud can keep going because at some point, the head of the table was like, yo, you're not the head no more. He told him, you're going to be an asterisk. Like, you can call all you want, but guess what? All I need is 3 seconds to beat you. Then where's all that go? You just another spoke on the wheel. In the legacy of John Cena, I was like, So, oh boy, I think I'm going with John Cena on this one. That's crazy to think about it, but I don't see where John Cena goes. I don't see where John Cena goes if he loses match. You going to ask for another rematch? Nah. There's got to be some sort of wrinkle to it.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that. But then again, you're actually right. He could go back to, I couldn't get the job done. Disappointed job, I'm gone. That's also a possibility. So.
We'll see. You know, SummerSlam, I was gonna say SummerSlam. Survivor Series 21 booked his 25th anniversary of The Rock.
Is that what they're calling it?
That's what they supposed to be celebrating. You know, last year, or was it last year we celebrated The Undertaker?
Well,
The year
all
before
that's going to be is just an announcement. It's like, oh yeah, well, at WrestleMania, I'll see you. Like, bro, that's like 6 months from now.
You know, I was saying that. I was talking to Corey about that, and he brought up a good point. Do we get a chance to really build something with The Rock?
Yeah, it's not going to take long.
Only reason why I asked this, and this is what his point was, so it had me conflicted, because The Rock could be offered $50 million to do a movie, and he's not turning that down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, do you take The Rock as soon as you get him? Like, if you know you got him locked in this date, you take him, or do you trust the fact that he's a WWE lifer and he'll turn down $50 million off, or he'll block out his calendar?
He will.
Okay.
But it's got to be opportune for him. Like, look, don't offer me nothing right now. If he's got some on the books, he's probably not going to commit to the date, because that money's going to be easier than WWE money. Because when he wrestles, he blocks off everything because he has to.
Because he got to train and stuff, right?
Yeah, because he's going to train. Him and Curtis Axel will be in. He likes to get himself back. He knows what he has to do to get back in the in-ring shape, and that takes a while. He's just not going to show up and just try to, because that's what he did at WrestleMania 27, and it was like, and then he came back completely transformed by the time WrestleMania 28 came around. You know what I mean? It was like, that whole WWE sauce got him going. He's a different entity today for that very reason. But
because that's what I want to see. I want to see the announcement. I want to see him show up. Hey, how y'all doing? Roman show up, or whomever. It's got to be Roman, right? And then set up everything to happen in Vegas. This is Dallas. You know what I mean? But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that's the match that breaks Jerry's record. Roman and Rock at Jerry World, because it's in Dallas.
Well, what's the record though?
It's like 110,000 with like a country music concert.
Okay, because they did what, 1-on-1 last time?
Yeah.
And that broke the WrestleMania 3 record.
Yeah, with a lackluster card.
Yeah. The
injury WrestleMania.
Yeah, because Seth was out. That was hurtful.
Seth was out. Cesaro was out.
Cesaro was out, yeah.
Cena was out. He came down there and did, hey y'all.
Yeah, because he was fresh off the surgery. Like he probably shouldn't even been in there. He was there with Austin, right? No, who's he there with? The Rock.
Because The Rock gave us the surprise match.
Yeah, he took his pants off. Like, all right, I got it with the Wyatt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
with not Brody, or Rowan. Yep.
Yeah.
Which was like, I remember sitting there like, why is he here? This is the only time I ever felt this way about The Rock. Like, come on, yo, you doing the same thing over and over again. Then it takes, he reveals his gear. I'm like, okay, all right. He about to have a match.
That's what I'm talking about. Something as subtle. The match was 2 minutes. Something as subtle as just wearing your gear. Like, bro, you made it a big deal by doing a wardrobe change.
Yeah.
Speaking of wardrobe change. Where am I going with this?
I have no idea.
Elias.
You called it. Breakout Superstar show.
What did I say?
Season 4.
I said that dude is one wardrobe gimmick change away. From being a player. Yep. Right. I'm curious to see what we get from him. I'm curious to see what we. This is SummerSlam extra stuff as we wrap up. So I know it's getting late. I'm curious. Hold on, throw something at somebody. I'm curious to see what we get from Karrion Kross and Jeff Hardy, because that story is yet to be told. That's
people underestimate that post SummerSlam season. We always talk about the post WrestleMania, but people also underestimate that post SummerSlam season.
Yeah, that's Karrion Kross is working with Joe. He's working with Jeff Hardy. I said, man, they getting him ready. They're not wasting any time. He was out there. Was like, yeah, don't get comfortable in NXT, buddy. They getting all the bumps out the way early.
So he drops the belt Sunday at TakeOver?
Honestly, I don't even know. Like you don't have to. Like you could tell. I'm like, it's not about the belt with him. They're like, no, we gotta get you ready for the main roster because you're gonna be a top guy. So we gotta start getting. That's why he's working with vets already off breaks in both companies. Like in both, he came back, got back to the top, working with Joe, and then working with Hardy. I'm like, oh yeah, they're getting him ready. They're priming it. Like, don't get comfortable down there, buddy. Because I remember at first they were like, oh yeah, don't even put him in NXT. Like, he should be on the main roster getting a push early. Going with the old school approach. Because Vince is in the old new stars mode. I'm curious to see if we see anything from Adam Cole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are the 3 wrinkles that I'm looking forward to. Like, let's see where this goes with these guys. What they have to do with SummerSlam. You know what I mean? So
we shall see, man. Yeah, we shall see. I'm interested to see what happens afterwards too. Monday night, what happens
Fallout.
after?
Yep.
Fallout. We'll have a couple days to process it. How you feel about SummerSlam being on a Saturday before we get out of here?
It's different, but it's Vegas, so I kind of get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because everything is shut down on Sundays in Vegas or something like that. Was that old?
That might be old.
I was about to say. I remember. I don't know. Back in the summer, like a lot of stuff isn't open on Sundays or something. It was old pro. I don't know. Who knows? But
I'll tell you this. Well, no, because Roman, the night all members of Shield had won the title at Money in the Bank, the same night Braun and them came back on the Warriors. That was in Vegas. Because big deal, Ambrose won it his hometown. Where he lived though.
Yeah.
But I tell you this, it's a perfect storm for me.
Yeah.
Because I gotta work Sunday. Shout out to my uncle and them, they're having their anniversary. So I was like, yo, when this first time I said, yo, you booked the anniversary on SummerSlam Sunday. And mind you, this is the uncle that gave me the first toy belt that's responsible for a lot of my wrestling memories with all the tapes. So it ain't like you was at my daughter's first birthday party. Me and him sitting up there holding wrestling conversations. That's how it always is. So I'm like, you booked your anniversary on SummerSlam Sunday, but it all worked out that
now Sundays,
yeah. Now it just sucked because I couldn't go because I had to work and I wasn't gonna take that trying to get a red eye. But I mean, it's all good. So
I think it should be like it's Saturday night. You can have a blast. You're gonna go out, gamble, and act a fool, and then give them the day to recover, and then travel on down the road.
Yeah, how much people gonna lose money on SummerSlam? The bet, especially if Goldberg wins the title. I would have to believe. Shout out to Raphael. He usually sends out. I still get all the betting odds and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not
Esperanza, Ralph Esperanza.
Yeah, but shout out to him. But it's funny because when he was on Bring It Down with Brian H, and he said something about Carmelo.
Oh boy!
I posted that clip on the Wrestling Realm Twitter page, and she posted that she was like, "Oh, a real name? I'm not a real name to win," and she ended up winning Money in the Bank that year. But it was hilarious. I'm sitting in church and I'm just getting at rehearsal, getting all these notifications. It's like, oh, that video got 8,000 views. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Right.
The whole time because she done quote tweeted it. But yeah, let's get out of here. Y'all know where to find them. Y'all know where to find us at Wrestling Realm, at TRDA Brand on Instagram, at Dwayne Allen 24 on Instagram. Y'all can follow me at Brian H. Waters on both social media platforms. I can't follow you back on Instagram as my Instagram's still in punishment. I don't know why. I didn't do anything, but it is what it is. Until the next time, folks, make sure you subscribe. I'm not making any promises for any SummerSlam post-show plans. Who knows what'll happen. I'm sitting there looking through. And look, y'all got to make sure y'all watch the YouTube version if you don't. And make sure you hit the subscribe button. And, you stuck with us this long. We highly appreciate it. Shout out to all the people in the wrestling community. Until the next time, too sweet.
Mr. Brian Waters.